do, Fisheroos? My name is Angie, and welcome to our first reading of some SCPs. Gather around the campfire as we tell stories, not sing songs. We're not singing songs today, but gather around as we spin some stories with each other. So this is a much different stream than was originally planned. Originally, we were going to read some creepypastas, but a couple of things happened and it ended up not being able to work out. No, the fish won't cook because you're not cooking me over the fire. So, no doing that. However, we're having a little camp out today, and so we're going to be reading some stories together. So I have gathered some stories that you guys have sent me, and some stories that are my own personal favorites from different creepypastas. For whatever reason, chat is not showing on the screen it's supposed to be showing up on. I don't know what's up with that. That's a little annoying. Hopefully I'll be able to see you guys. Let me maneuver some things around for a second. I ended up being late. I'm so sorry about that. I was just chatting up in Discord, and then I looked over and I'm like, oh crap, it's already noon. Okay. But I gathered up some SCPs that you guys sent me that I have looked into myself, and we're gonna read them. So, you know, we stole some files from SCP Foundation. They don't know. What they don't know won't hurt them. So I'm gonna go back and forth here. I'm gonna go from one that you guys have sent me to ones that I found myself that, like, I just personally really like. Some of these are long, some of these are short, some of these are like non-existent. Don't worry about that. But regardless, we will be reading. During the reading periods, I'm not going to talk to chat. After the reading periods, I will be talking to you guys a lot. But feel free to chat in no matter what. Chat is running a little slow, but it should be fine. I just remembered some SCPs I could have submitted. Depending on what time I get done reading, you guys can definitely submit more to me. You know, we can keep reading them. They're fine to read. I'll just have to link back to the works once we're done. But if you guys would like to read along with me, if you would like to pull these up yourselves, I have linked every single one that we're reading in the description below, so you guys can check that out. Anyways, with that being said, we are going to go on to our first SCP submitted by Faith. This is SCP-055. All right. Item SCP-055, Object Class Keter. Special containment procedures. Object is kept within a 5 by 5 by 2.5 meter square room consisting of cement, 50 centimeter thickness, with a Faraday cage surrounding the cement walls. Access is via a heavy containment door measuring 2 by 2.5 meters, constructed on bearings to ensure door closes and locks automatically, unless held open deliberately. Security guards are not to be posted outside SCP-055's room. It is further advised that all personnel maintaining or studying other SCP objects in the vicinity try to maintain a distance of at least 50 meters from a geometric center of the room, as long as this is reasonably practical. Description: SCP-055 is a safe-keeping secret or anti-meme. Information about SCP-055's physical appearance as well as its nature, behavior, origins, and is self-classifying. To clarify, how Site-19 originally acquired SCP-055 is unknown. When SCP-055 was obtained and by whom is unknown. SCP-055's physical appearance is unknown. It is not indescribable or invisible. Individuals are perfectly capable of entering SCP-055's container and observing it, taking mental or written notes, making sketches, taking photographs, and even making audio-video recordings. An extensive log of such observations is on file. However, information about SCP-055's physical appearance leaks out of a human mind soon after such an observation. Individuals tasked with describing SCP-055 afterwards find their minds wandering and lose interest in the task. Individuals tasked with sketching a copy of photograph of SCP-055 are unable to remember what the photograph looks like, as are researchers overseeing these tests. Security personnel who have observed SCP-055 via closed-circuit television cameras emerge after a full shift exhausted and effectively amnesiac about the events of the previous hours. Amnesic? What did they say in the thing? I feel like I've been pronouncing this word wrong all along. Doesn't matter, we're still reading. Who authorized the construction of SCP-055's containment room, why it was constructed in this way, or what purpose of the described containment procedures may be, are all unknown. Despite SCP-055's container being easily accessible, all personnel on site, all personnel at Site-19 claim no knowledge of SCP-055's existence when challenged. All of these facts are periodically rediscovered, usually by chance readers of this file, causing a great deal of alarm. This state of concern lasts minutes at most, before the matter is simply forgotten about. A great deal of scientific data has been recorded from SCP-055, but cannot be studied. At least one attempt has been made to destroy SCP-055, or possibly move it from containment at Site-19 to another site, meeting failure for reasons unknown. SCP-055 may present a major physical threat, and indeed may have killed many hundreds of personnel, and we would not know it. Certainly it presents a gigantic mimetic mental threat, hence its Keter classification. Document number 055-1, an analysis of SCP-055. The author puts forward the hypothesis that SCP-055 was never formally acquired by Redacted, and is in fact an autonomous or remotely controlled agent, inserted at Site-19 by an unidentified third party for one or all of the following purposes: to silently observe or interfere with activities at Site-19, to silently observe or interfere with activities at other SCP locations, to silently observe or interfere with activities of humanity worldwide, to silently observe or interfere with other SCP objects, to silently observe or interfere with Redacted. No action to counter any of these potential threats is suggested, or indeed theoretically possible. Addendum A. Hey, if this thing really is an anti-meme, why doesn't the fact that it's an anti-meme get wiped? We must be wrong about that somehow. Wait a minute, what if we were to keep notes about what it is, what it isn't? Would we remember those? Bartholomew Hughes, NSA. Document number 055-2, report of Dr. John Marichek. Survey team number 19-055-127B-XE was successfully able to enter SCP-055's container and ascertain the appearance and, to some degree, the nature of the object. Notes were taken according to the project's methodology. See Redacted, after which the container was sealed again. Excerpt from the transaction of personnel debriefing follows. Dr. Hughes. Okay, I'm going to need to ask you some questions about number 55 now. Number what? SCP Object 55, the object you just examined. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think we have a 55. Okay, then, Redacted. I'd like you to tell me what you've been doing for the past 2 hours. What? Subject appears uncomfortable. I don't know. Okay, then do you remember that we all agreed that it wasn't spherical? Wasn't... Oh, right! It isn't round at all. Object 55 isn't round. So you remember it now? Well, no. I mean, I don't know what it is, but I know there is one. It's something you can't remember, and it's not a sphere? Wait a minute, what's not a sphere? Object 55. Object what? Doc, do you remember agreeing that something wasn't shaped like a sphere? Oh, right! It appears to be possible to remember what SCP-055 is not, negations of fact, and to repeatedly deduce its existence from these memories. Personnel involved in survey number 19055-127-BXE reported moderate levels of disorientation and psychological trauma associated with cycles of repeated memory and forgetfulness of SCP-055. However, no long-term behavioral or health problems were observed, and psych assessments of survey personnel showed consistent reports of the distress fading over time. Recommendations: it may be worthwhile to post at least one staff member capable of remembering the existence of SCP-055 to each critical site. And there is a link called We Need to Talk About 55 at the bottom. So I will also be reading this as well, I think. Hold on. 55, what's that? That's, huh. What was I talking about? Must not have been important. Oh well, the next SCP on our list is SCP-3000. It's one of my personal favorites, you know. Let's see. Amnesiac? I see. Damn, I forgot to make suggestions too. It happens to all of us. I don't know, all I remember was something not spherical. What's not spherical? I mean, I could be spherical sometimes. So maybe that's it? Maybe that's what we were thinking about? I don't know. I can't remember anymore. I just have this thing attached over here that says we need to talk about... Oh, 55. Did we have a 55? I don't remember that being a thing. I don't remember that being a thing at all. Huh. Maybe you guys remember it? I mean, if it's an option, the one I had in mind is quite long. It might be. SCP-3000 is really, really long. I feel like it's a bit of a cop-out if I do not read this additional stuff for SCP-055. So we should probably read that in addition, but I didn't really realize there was an additional thing when I was originally grabbing this. So let me add this to the description real fast, just to cover all bases. I'm going to just real quick add this in so you guys can read along with me. And so you guys don't forget. Okay. It has been added, so you guys can read along if you'd like. Okay. Go back to the top and read this note about an SCP I do not remember anything about. Okay. Can I smoke? This time the receptionist narrows her eyes at Marion. No. Nope, that's a... That's a girl. I should use a different voice for that. No, she says. You can't smoke anywhere on Site 200. Just because it's an administration building doesn't mean we don't have lungs or labor laws. Marion notices the exasperation at the young woman's face. I've asked you that before, haven't I? Twice in the last quarter hour, the receptionist says. You must really need a smoke. She's genuinely puzzled at the repeated question, and she's doing a bad job of concealing her puzzlement. You think this is a memento, don't you? Marion offers charitably. You think I have no long-term memory, and if I stay in one place too long, I forget why I'm here. The receptionist is only just old enough to remember that film. I guess? Marianne smiles sympathetically and shakes her head. It's nothing so simple. Minutes pass. She toys obsessively with her lighter. She is turning 50 this year and slowly graying, well, on her own way out of petite towards the little old lady. In her bag, her phone beeps because it's time for a pill, but she tells it to remind her later. There's a slight tremble in her fingers, and that's not age-based infirmity. That's just ordinary nerves. She's nervous because she's here to meet an O5, and O5s are scary. O5s never want to see you for a small thing. It's the end of the world or nothing. Finally, 40 minutes later, the door to the inner office opens. 4 or 5 high-ranked foundationers spill out, carrying laptops or briefcases. As a group, they head straight past reception and out to cars which are waiting. Marianne recognizes a few of the faces. The Site 19 site director, the head recruiter for Western Europe. None of them glance in her direction. Once they're gone, O5-8's assistant pokes his head around the door. He's 20-something, and probably youthful, like a teenager stuffed into one of his dad's business shirts. His haircut is barely regulation. In one hand, he holds a tablet computer, showing his boss's day planner. It's packed. The man evidently does not sleep.
Marianne, you can come through now.
The office door closes behind them with an unusually heavy mechanical clunk, as if the whole thing is part of a machine built into the office walls. While Marianne takes the indicated chair and sets her bag down, the assistant turns and does some confusing additional things to the door, causing it to make several further strange noises. O5s have non-trivial privacy and security requirements. The office is spacious, but somehow contrives to the dark, despite 2 big corners of window and broad daylight outside. The walls are all bookshelves and dark wood paneling, perfectly stylish, but at a style from the 90s, a little worn, and not yet old enough to be fashionable again. As for the fellow behind the desk, well, an O5 never looks like you imagine. Marianne takes a deep breath. So what's the topic? All I got was the meeting invitation. No agenda or subject. I mean, an O5 says jump, you jump, but... Looking at her right, she notices that the assistant, without saying anything or making any undue noise, has set his tablet down on a table, produced a gun, and aimed at her head. Marianne stops talking. She sits still in the chair for a little while, absorbing the change of pace, letting her heart rate rise at to a hummingbird's, and then start to flatten again. Okay, she hazards. She licks her lips and grips the armrest, otherwise staying perfectly still, waiting for another prompt. The assistant's face is totally neutral now, like this is just how meetings go. Maybe it is, for people up here.
Who are you?
O5-8 asks her. Marianne blinks. What? Oh. God.
Let me rephrase.
O5-8 says...
Marianne Wheeler, 49. With loving husband and 2 boys in tow, likes camping, hiking, and, what? Ornithology? Ornithology? I don't know what that... Okay, moving on. We'll look that up after. Boring mother with perfect airtight background and financials. As far back as we can examine. And you've got full foundation credits, which we've never issued, including access to a list of installations and rooms which some of these locations don't exist, or were torn down decades ago. At least one hasn't been built yet. Yet you've got the front door key to it. That's before we get to your SCP access control list, which I can only term as egregious. So you're a spy and your objectives are misaligned with ours, and Clay wanted to cut XI3 loose on you, but I was able to bring him around. I talked him into a face-to-face. I thought there was a slim chance that if we locked you in a bomb-proof room and asked politely, you'd have a good sense to spare yourself the rest.
Marianne has long since stopped listening. You dullard, she says, now that she can finally speak. I'm your chief of of anti-memetics.
We don't have an anti-memetics division, Clay says.
Yes, you do. We do. 05-8 says,
we have a memetics division, a telecontaminant division, fire services, Ops A, Ops B, personnel, D personnel, and 24 others. We don't have an anti-memetics division.
Do I have an irony division? Marian asks. She hesitates hopefully. No. All right. We'll try this. Why do you think the anti-memetics division would show up in a listing?
This is just a cover story,
Clay says to 05-8, not taking his eyes off Marian.
It's a good one, but she's had it worked out in advance.
Clay, lose the piece, says the 05. Grudgingly, Clay does so. Marian relaxes fractionally. There are SCPs with dangerous memetic properties, she says. There are contagious concepts which require containment, just like any physical threat. They get inside your head and read your mind, to reach other minds, right?
Right,
05-8 says. He could name a score of SCPs fitting this description without even thinking. There are SCPs with anti-memetic properties, Marian goes on. There are ideas which cannot be spread. These are entities and phenomena which harvest and consume information, particularly information about themselves. You take a Polaroid photo of one, it'll never develop. You write a description down with a pen on paper and hand it to someone, but what you've written turns out to be hieroglyphics, and nobody can understand them, not even you. You can look directly at one and it won't even be invisible. But you'll still perceive nothing there. Dreams you can't hold on to, and secrets you can never share, and lies, and living conspiracies. It's a conceptual subculture of ideas, consuming other ideas, and sometimes segments of reality. Sometimes people.
Which makes them a threat. That's all there is to it, really.
Oh no, wait, that's still her. Which makes them a threat. That's all there is to it, really. Anti-memes are dangerous, and we don't understand them. Therefore, they are part of the problem, hence my division. We can do a sideways thinking that's needed to combat something which can literally eat your combat training. 05-8 stares at her for a long moment. Clay fidgets, disliking and distrusting the story, but the 05 seems more open to the concept.
Name one,
he says.
Name an anti-memetic SCP.
SCP-055, Marian says promptly.
There is no SCP-055, Clay retorts.
Again, yes, there is, Marian says.
There isn't, Clay asserts. SCP numbers aren't designated sequentially. There are gaps. That number hasn't been assigned. It's not superstition. We have enough to be concerned about without arbitrary numerology mysticism. We have SCP-666 and SCP-0-13, but there's no SCP-001, and there's no SCP-055. Clay, 05-8 says, you should look at this.
He turns his monitor so Clay can see the file that he just retrieved. Clay bends over and reads it from top to bottom. Stunned, he scrolls back and reads it all a second time.
But the file's dated from 2008, 05-8 says. It's got all the right flags and signatures. It's keyed and coded. It's real. You've seen this before?
Clay asks him.
Never in my life.
05-8 says.
As far as I can remember anyway. On the other hand, if the content is accurate, both of us have probably seen this dozens of times.
Clay glares at Marian.
This isn't possible.
Marian nearly spits. For Christ's sake, Clay! How long have you been working here?
But if this SCP is this powerful, he begins.
Yes?
Who wrote this file?
The 05 finishes.
And for that matter, how was the interview conducted, and who is Bartholomew Hughes? And most importantly, how do you, Miss Wheeler, retain the knowledge of any of this?
Art Hughes wrote the file. He's dead, Marian says.
What happened to him?
You don't want to know. There was a very long pause, while both 05-8 and his assistant react to this. In fact, they pass through a long, discrete sequence of reactions. indignation at the seeming rudeness, confusion at Wheeler's incaution in front of sinister superiors, surprise at the magnitude of the claim, pure disbelief, comprehension, and finally, horror.
What?
05-8 asks carefully.
What would happen if we did know?
It would happen to you as well, Marianne says levelly. As for the rest of your questions, we manage that pharmaceutically. You know, we have Class A amnestics for people who very badly need to forget things. Of course you do. We could forget about Class A who could forget about Class A amnestics? Well, in antimemetics, we have a different pill. For people who need to remember things that would otherwise be important to remember. Mnemonics, Class W, X, Y, and Z. Same Greek root as the word mnemonic. The M is silent. In her bag, her phone beeps again. With a nod of approval from the 05, Marianne reaches into the bag and turns her phone off, acknowledging the prompt this time instead of postponing it. She pulls a blister pack from another pocket and pops a pill out. It's hexagonal and green. She holds it up and is satisfied to see a flicker of recognition on 05-8's face. He begins to put it back together. Marianne says, "These are Class W mnemonics. The weakest, sustainable for continual use. 2 pills per day. Go down to the site pharmacy and ask. The pharmacist will claim that they don't stock any such thing. They're misremembering. Tell them to double check."
05-8 sighs. Now I think I get it. I see why we're having this conversation at all.
Yes, Marianne says, popping a second pill out and handing it over to him. It's because you missed a dose. You're supposed to be on these, the same as me and everybody on my staff. It's the only way we can work. You forget to take a pill and then you forget all the information that the pills were helping you retain. You forgot why you were taking them, who gave them to you, where to get more. You forgot about me and my entire department, and now I have to bring you up to speed.
And if I take this?
05-8 says.
I'll remember this whole conversation and we won't have to have it again.
Hopefully not, Marianne says.
Clay pipes in. Should I be taking those? Sorry, kiddo.
05-8 says.
Need to know. Maybe when you're an 05 yourself.
He swallows the pill. Marianne swallows hers too.
So, what is SCP-055?
05-8 asks. SCP-055 is nothing, Marianne says, now relaxing entirely. SCP-055 is, as described in the file, a powerful information autosuppressor. As far as experimentation has uncovered, it can only be defined in negative terms. We can only record what it isn't. We know it isn't safe or Euclid. We know it isn't round or square or green or silver. We know it isn't stupid, and we know it isn't alone. But what we do know is that it's weak. It's weak because it's the only antimemetic agent in our possession, which has a physical entry in the files. We have paper records of this thing. We have containment procedures. It's not safe, which means it's dangerous, but it's contained.
05-8 blinks. You have procedures? Where?
Marianne points at her head.
Then how many other anti-memes are there? How much more dangerous do they get?
10 that I know of, Marianne says. Statistically, probably at least 5 more than I don't know of. This does not count the anti-memetic entities freely roaming the halls, not under containment. There are at least 2 in the room with us right now. Don't look. I said don't look! It's pointless.
058 does an impressive job of controlling himself,
keeping the attention focused on Marianne. Clay doesn't fare as well, and quickly sweeps the whole room, even checking behind his back, making an ass of himself, essentially. He finds nothing. He looks baffled. There is an invisible monster which follows me around and likes to eat my memories, Marianne explains, patiently. SCP-4987. Don't look it up, it's not there. I've learned to manage with it. It's like a demanding pet. I produce tasty memories on purpose so it doesn't eat something important, like my passwords or how to make coffee.
And what's the other one? Clay asks.
With another nod from 05-8, Marianne goes to her bag again. This time she pulls out a gun and shoots Clay twice in the heart.
I was not expecting it to go there.
More angst than pain, Clay collapses sharply against the bookcase behind him. Pulling his head around to face Marianne, he managed, "How did you... No." Marianne stands, aims more carefully, and shoots him a third time, this time in the head. 05-8 again does an impressive job of not reacting.
"That's Clay's gun," he deadpans. "You stole it from him?"
It's tricky to steal a firearm this heavy from someone without them noticing, Marianne explains, unloading it and carefully setting it down. But stealing a firearm and then stealing their memory of the theft is a little easier. Like I said, a pet. Some pets are dumb enough that they can be trained.
"Yes," 05-8 says evenly. "That's more I'd guessed, but why?"
Because you were supposed to be taking Class W amnestics, nemetics, Marianne says. You can't skip a dose of Class W Class W nestic. I've tried. You can postpone a dose. You can't forget unless someone actively prevents you from taking it. There's only one person who could get close enough to you to do that, and that's your assistant. And remember when I asked him how long he'd been working here?
He didn't answer, 05-8 says. "I thought you were being rhetorical."
He doesn't work here, Marianne says. He's an anti-meme. Since when do you have an assistant? You don't have an assistant, Brent. Look at this office. It's got one desk. You've got a receptionist outside. She's the one who screens your calls and schedules your meetings. Where does Clay even sit? Where does he fit? Don't blame yourself. You're human. And these things are redaction incarnate. You need to think like a space alien to get around them. 05-8 asks a question, which in any other workplace would be absurd.
"Is he dead?"
"Maybe," Marianne says. "I put his corpse in our research queue, and we'll see what we can see when we open him up. There's a duality here, though. They're like parallel universe sharing the same space. It's conceptual versus concrete, figurative versus physical. It's very unusual for things to cross over. I don't know what Clay was, but he had a human body, which instantly makes him weird, even by our standards. As ever, the search for stalemate continues. I will let you know if we get any closer."
"Any side effects of these pills?"
05-8 asks. "Nausea and dramatically increased risk of pancreatic cancer," Marianne says, "and very bad dreams."
That was fun. That was a fun one. I like where it ended up. Hello, welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. I really can't take anything meme seriously. I hear you. This tale is pretty much the springboard for most of the tales in there. There is no anti-memetics division series. I can see that. I am surprised. I have never read this before. It looks like there is another section. This goes on for a while, I'm noticing. This is a long story. I didn't even realize. Let's see. So, I did not realize how long this is, like a continuous thing. I did not realize going into this. So, excuse me, as we do this, I'm gonna have to keep updating the description so you guys can read along with me. So, 1 second as I put this in. Yeah, it's the beginning of a whole series. I had no idea. It's fun though, I like this. This is a very fun one. If you can't tell, I've never read this one before. So, this one is completely new to me. I had glanced over it when I was checking it out and was like, oh, it's pretty short, and did not see that there's a whole other section attached. But yeah, no, this is a really fun one. Okay. Alright, I have added it to the description so you guys can read along with me. Anyways, do you guys remember, by the way, what I was saying? I can't remember all of a sudden. I have a file in front of me. I suppose that's what I'm supposed to be reading, right? Do you guys know what we were talking about? I'm just gonna drink my coffee and we'll continue on with this story. Wait, are we continuing? Or are we beginning? Who are you again? I'm Angie! I guess I haven't done my introduction yet, have I? Something about being sad about being too old to attract anime. What was that? What was that? Hold on here. Hold on a second, Josh. Hey! Oh, nice to meet you. Yeah, nice to meet you guys. It's weird. I feel like I've known you guys before, but nah, that can't be right. Anyways, nice to meet you. I'm a fish. I think. Right? I'm a fish. Why am I dressed as a witch? Fish witch? Yeah, that makes sense. All right. We're now reading part 1 of this story. Introductory anti-memetics. Huh. It seems like there's some other files attached to it, but I don't think I've read them. Anyway, this is definitely part 1 of this story. Anyways, let's start. Junior researcher Kim's been working on the Foundation for all of 4 years, and he feels pulverized, as if an anvil was dropped on his head in the first introductory lecture. It's lunchtime, and he's found a corner so far back in the cafeteria that nobody bothers him, where he can chew and swallow non-anomalous food, drink apocalyptically strong coffee, and discuss the hard lessons of the morning. Oh, Kim is me. On this Foundation-provided phone, he pages fretfully through the few SCP files for which he has clearance. Most of them have to be jokes. That's how they read. Like very bad, dark, frightening jokes. Kim's one of the 11 junior researchers in the new intake, and the other 10 are sitting in a separate group, at a separate table, chatting animatedly to one another. There are some instructors here, and they're munching sandwiches. Other than them, the cafeteria, large enough to seat 200 people or more, is deserted. To Kim, that seems odd. Site 41 is large. 3 skulking buildings with significant basement space, buried casually in the forests of central Colorado. Where is everybody? A man in a gray suit walks into the cafeteria, makes eye contact with Kim, and strides purposefully over. The man's suit is sharp enough to cut. He wears a tie pin and platinum wristwatch as big as a brick. He looks badly misplaced. Site 41 is a working site. There's a training, education, research, development, analysis, and even the containment of a very few safe SCPs going on here. Executives shouldn't ever be here. So what is he? A lost exec? Trying to find a helipad? Or a researcher or instructor? Dressed for the job he wants, not the job he has. Hell of a day, the man says, holding hand out. Alistair Gray, with an E. Kim, says Kim. Paul Kim. Good to meet you. What accent is that, if you don't mind me asking? Kim blinks. New York? He says, I'm from New York. Are you a site director? You seem on edge. Well, that figures, doesn't it? Kim asks. You must know how the intro goes. It's like an atom bomb to the ego. I just had almost everything I know returned. It turns out I spent my entire adult life being protected from dangerous knowledge. As if the whole outside world is a ball pit for under 7s. Stepping out of that has been humiliating. To start with, and he blinks again. Hey, what do you do here exactly? You didn't answer my question. You didn't answer mine, Gray says. Of course I did, Kim says. I'm from... And then he just stops. His train of thought running off the end of the track into air. It's on the tip of his tongue. The answer to Gray's question. But he can't get the words out. That's weird, he says, shaking his head. At this point, he also notices that Gray isn't wearing his badge. this could be an honest mistake, albeit an extremely serious one. But surely execs don't get to the executive level without being scrupulously correct in everything they do. Who are you? Kim asks again. Your life story was fascinating. What? You spoke 4 languages, Gray tells him. And now, and soon 0. Too huge in intellect to specialize. Your education was a fusion of biochemistry and comparative literature. You felt as if you'd die if you couldn't find more foreign thoughts to cram into your head. You've been all over the world, hungry, and every country you've ever been to was like landing on another planet. You toy with anthropology, but there's too much world for one human race to ever understand, let alone one human. There's too much human race. We should part down. Kim nods. Would you excuse me for just 1 second? He gets up and hurries to another table to the instructor, whom he met earlier that day. When Kim gets close to her, he feels a kind of staticky sensation building up. He tries to shake her shoulder and succeeds in moving it a little, but it's like reaching through tar. Hey, there's a problem. There's an intruder. I think he might be an SCP. Doc, look at me. Hello? She doesn't react. He tries the gaggle of fellow newcomers as well, but they keep chatting and hypothesizing, oblivious to him shouting and clapping in their ears. Hey, people, listen to me! No, 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 no. He looks back. Gray stood up and started moving towards him, still with the confident smile. And there's definitely something wrong with him now, because he's visible through the tables, like an augmented reality holoprojector jammed inside Kim's eyeball. Kim realizes with a stab of fear that he can even see Gray when he blinks. His eyelids close, but Gray is still there, an apparition in what for all of Kim's life has been totally personal, private darkness. The only way he can avoid seeing Gray is to turn away, and even then he feels a radioactive prickling in the back of his eyeballs. Kim tries to phone one of the newbies. The phone in the newbie's pocket rings, and other than that, nothing happens. Nobody reacts. That doesn't make sense, Kim says. Do you remember your father? Gray says. I never knew my father, Kim says, edging away. Mom raised me. Gray's white smile is a fixture. These people loved your perspective. They were going to put you to work on anomalous antimemes, but they don't remember you exist. You don't exist. Kim says mainly to himself, there aren't any dangerous SCPs on this site. It's a safe site, so either you're not dangerous or nobody knows you exist. And if nobody knows you exist, then that means you're either brand new or you're... What's an antimeme? Hell of a first day, Gray says. Are you sentient? Kim asks. You seem on edge, Gray says. Kim bolts. He exits the cafeteria, turns a corner, and runs 10 or 11 paces down the corridor to where there's an elevator. He stabs the down button and waits. The elevator door is highly polished, reflective. Kim catches sight of a face in the mirror surface and nearly falls over with shock, because it's a face he has never seen before, and it's apparently his own. Jesus! Oh no, 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 no! He babbles. What the hell? What the hell? Gray comes around the corner, still only strolling just as the elevator cracks open. Kim dives in and punches the lowest floor basement, level 8. It's instinctive, although he could rationalize the decision in retrospect, he can't just get in the car and drive. It's better if Gray stays on site than if he's still loose in rational reality. And to do this, it's better if Kim retreats to the lowest, darkest corner of the site, for which he has access, and when he waits for Gray and then locks all doors behind him and waits to die. The elevator starts descending, and the apparition of Gray, visible through the doors and floors, disappears upwards, shrinking with distance and perspective, but still smiling broadly down at Kim. Kim paces in the elevator. I don't remember what my face looks like. It said it had eaten all of my secondary languages, but I don't remember learning anything other than English, so it's eating my memories. It's consuming information, and it can't contact anybody directly, which means I'm on my own. I'm not trained for this. He hammers his head once again the elevator wall and stares at his shoes. But I don't know that. What if I've been trained, but I don't remember my training anymore? What if I've been working here for years and I only think that this is my first day? What if I've met this thing before? What if everybody on this site has met it multiple times and nobody remembers? Is this what an hit at me, miss? Kim remembers the near-empty cafeteria and miles of totally unoccupied corridors and vacant offices and lab spaces. Maybe it's not just eating my memories. Maybe it eats people whole, removes them completely from history. Maybe it's been haunting the site for years, and that's why the site's so empty. Because it's nearly finished exterminating us all. I need to get help. I need to warn somebody. How? I can't talk to people. I can't phone them. I should write an SCP. But surely somebody's already thought of that. He pulls his phone out. He pulls out the listing. Nearly 10,000 SCP entries. 100 of them are tagged anti-memetics alone. Kim clears his mind. Gray with an E, Gray 4739. SCP-4739, Keter. Special containment procedures. I'm disregarding this format because time is of a factor. If you're reading this, you've already been isolated from the Foundation at large. Attempts to signal for help are futile. You are now inside 4739's gullet. After ingestion and prior to digestion, you need to get to lab SO41B08053 as soon as possible and continue the research until you find a way to stop or kill Gray before it kills you. Don't read the rest until you're in the elevator. Description. At that moment, the elevator door opens at basement level 8. Alistair Gray is waiting, still smiling disarmingly. He steps forward. Desperate, Kim hurls his phone overarm at the creature's forehead. It's a solid chunk of metal, and it's a dead hit. Gray reels backwards and cracks his skull against the wall. By the time he recovers, Kim is out of sight, hurrying away down the left corridor, just echoing fading footsteps on concrete. 2 45-degree turns, and room 53 is in sight. The door's at the furthest end. It looks like a submarine bulkhead. Kim spots the keypad from way out. 4 digits. He tries 4739, and it works first time. The bulkhead mechanism takes agonizing seconds to open up. Come on, come on, come on! Do you remember your mother? He hears Gray calling down the corridor. I never knew my parents. I was an orphan, Kim hisses under his breath. For a split second, he wonders what Gray might really mean by that, but he doesn't have time to dwell on it. The bulkhead opens. Kim slides in and pulls it closed behind him, locking the mechanism up again, as if that'll buy him even 1 second. The lab inside is sizable, windowless, of course, and stacked to the ceiling with a jumbled equipment, of which Kim hardly recognizes. There are pieces of thick shuttered glass underfoot. In the corner, there's a computer terminal, locked. Kim unlocks it, and there's the same entry waiting for him. Description. SCP-4739 is a powerful, slow-acting antimemetic kill agent taking the appearance of a male Caucasian business executive calling itself Alistair Gray. SCP-4739 is attracted to dense clusters of organically stored information, essentially, extremely knowledgeable, complicated, interesting people. SCP-4739 isolates its victim from the outside world by enveloping them in an antimemetic field, which makes it impossible for the victim, or anything done by the victim, to be perceived or remembered. SCP-4739 then consumes the victim's memories and knowledge until they become vegetative and die. The process takes about 15 minutes and 2 hours, and is described as being like Alzheimer's disease in Fast Forward. SCP-4739 is not believed to be sentient, although it imitates the behavior of the sentient being to the extent that it can appear sentient to the inattentive. Its victims are able to move and act freely, since it is impossible to escape once caught, or to signal for help. Communications such as written notes, graffiti, and electronic mail do get sent and persist in reality, but SCP-4739's effect spreads with each message, making it impossible for an external observer to receive the message until such time as SCP-4739 catches them too. The SCP entry, which you are currently reading, is created and maintained by victims of SCP-4739 because it is only visible to victims of SCP-4739. If you are reading this SCP entry, SCP-4739 has caught you. You are now isolated from the Foundation at large, and constitute an effective foundation of one.
You have between 15 minutes and 2 hours to reach Site 41, Basement Level 8, Laboratory 053. Familiarize yourself with the existing research and continue this research until you find a way to contain or decommission SCP-4739, or, more likely, die. If your field of expertise is not related to antimemetic containment, we sincerely apologize and advise you to start learning fast. SCP-4739 has consumed Foundation researchers since we started counting on August 3, 2013. If you are reading this entry for the first time, please add a mark. We estimate at least 50% of victims never make it as far as the database entry, so the true victim count is more than twice this figure. But how do I kill it? Kim screams. He scrolls and scrolls through the research, which is chaotic and haphazardly arranged because nobody has found a spare second to sort it out. There are dozens of separate lines of research, contributed in patchwork by a succession of victims, all ending with variations of the same final line. I'm going to try X. If you're reading this, X didn't work and I'm dead, which means approach X is a dead end. You have to think of something else. He reads, nobody has succeeded in physically engaging with Gray. Nobody can stall it, evade it, slow it down, reason with it, redirect it to some other target. People have tried poisoning their memories with indigestible ideas, drip-feeding their memories to Gray to slow him down, replacing their memories faster than Gray can eat them, and force-feeding Gray too many memories at once to overfeed him and blow him up. They've tried committing suicide by Class A amnestic overdose. None of it worked. More than 100 people, most of them apparently possessing doctorates, have slid into the maw of this thing, fought briefly, and, with a greater or lesser degree of dignity, died. There are no remaining untied threads. I'm fucked, Kim concludes. He glances up. Ray's not in the room yet, but Kim can see him strolling down the last stretch of corridor. He's a total and tangible being. Physical obstructions are irrelevant to him. He can't be hurt. Kim clutches the pocket where he used to keep his phone. Wait a second. He scrolls again. He finds 3 or 4 sad, desperate wretches who died confronting Gray physically. Combat knife and Glock. Baseball bat. Kim looks up and checks the room. Sure enough, the bat's there, rolled under a table. One man, an elderly botanist far out of his depth, said he was just going to try whatever he could find that was heaviest. That explains the shattered CRT television and the light layer of thick glass on the floor near the bulkhead. There's even CCTV footage of the botanist's attempt. He accomplished literally nothing. Gray is a holographic ghost, and the CRT drops right through him, imploding when it hits the floor at Gray's feet. The botanist spins the rest of the videos, running time huddled in a corner, gradually losing his mind, while Gray watches placidly. The different being. Kim realizes that his eyes boggling a phone and a solid brick full of information. And before me, nobody tried using information as a missile. Kim searches for the experiments, several of them scattered, where the victim tried to divert Gray to a different data source. The general idea seemed to be to overload Gray by pointing him at something containing too much information. The internet, or a terabit feed from a live particle accelerator experiment, or a stack of hard drives containing the first few quadrillion binary digits of pi. But nobody could figure out a way to distract Gray's attention, prominently place screens full of data. He would ignore data beamed at him electromagnetically. Radio laser had no effect, and nobody could figure out a way to tunnel the information in through the victim's mind as extra memories. It was written off as impossible, closed as a line of investigation. The hard drives Kim finds are right there at the workbench next to the computer. It's a half-rack unit, a cubicle block of metalwork, as big and heavy as a bowling ball, one of the most ineffective conceivable melee weapons. Kim snatches up the 3 longest pieces of Ethernet cable he can find and starts plaiting them into a chain. Then he remembers who he is and where he is and what his responsibilities are. he goes to the computer to the SCP entry, adds himself to the victim tally, and writes up exactly what he's about to try. Because he might not be the last one, and the world needs to know that this didn't work. Gray comes through the lab bulkhead to find most of the equipment in the room toppled onto the floor, to create room for the black and silver drive array that Paul Kim is whirling around his head on a 2-meter chain made of plated network cable. It makes a low thrumming sound as it whirls. Gray is not intelligent enough to stop moving forward and catches the array directly in the side of the head, rack mount point first, like a morning star. Gray absorbs a few trillion digits on the impact, but it isn't enough. There's a green snap of light and a noise like a subway train short-circuiting, and Gray's a pile in the corner, his head caved in, and then drive array partially demolished in pieces around him. Kim decides that history can fill in whatever quip it likes best. It was chewing its way up the antimemetics division hierarchy.
That's not Kim. Or is it? What's Kim's last name? I forgot. That worked. It worked. What can I say? Okay. It was chewing its way up the antimemetics division hierarchy, Wheeler tells him in the aftermath. It was only a matter of time until it bit down on somebody dangerous. Congratulations on demonstrating a basic level of competence when it counted. Dozens of others couldn't. Kim still feels rattled, but the shock is dissipating faster than he'd expected. Marion Wheeler, it turns out, is the antimemetics division boss. She is Kim's new boss. Oh, that was Marion. I see. Whoops. We just read about her, didn't we? No, wait, no we didn't. There was no story before this. Hold on. I'm just realizing that finally my forgetfulness can be a helpful storytelling device. It works for this, doesn't it? Okay, I'll actually read now. I want to say it was dumb luck, Kim says. I want to say that I just threw my phone. It was instinct, but it was muscle memory. It was my first day and I just got lucky as hell. I want to say those things, but I'm sitting here and turning those statements over and none of them would be true, would they? Wheeler waits expectantly and says nothing. You're not my new boss, Kim says. You're just my boss. This isn't my first day at all. I've been working here for... well, it must be over a decade, right? I think I've been a professional antimemetics researcher since at least the mid-2000s. It's just... the first thing Gray ate was my memories of everything past the first day, and even then. I see very little luck in what happened today, Wheeler says. Instinct and muscle memory are just deep forms of training. Like I said, a basic level of competence, an ability to piece your own life and all of your past knowledge back together, faster than nearly anybody else. This is what we try to drill into you, and sometimes, thankfully, it takes. This isn't even the first time we've had this conversation, Kim continues. There've been other incidents, with other SCP with amnestic powers. You've sat there and watched me put myself back together before. And it hasn't gotten old yet, Wheeler admits, with something which might be approaching a smirk. How long does it usually take for me to recover? A few months, Wheeler says. But if you want the honest truth, people in this division are as competent on day one as they'll ever be. You come to the job firing on all cylinders, and not at all. Or not at all. The rest is just fine-tuning and chemistry. So what you're actually saying is, you don't care about my mental state and you need me back at work now, Kim says. Wheeler nods. I need an updated SCP entry, just to begin with. And I need you to nail down the model for Gray's predatory pattern, and exactly how you defeated it. I want you to work out what it did with the bodies, incinerated, disintegrated, or just left them lying around on the site in rotting, perpetually cloaked heaps. And I need countermeasures for when it comes back. He's not dead? Wait, Kim says. I think I know this one. It's coming back to me. Ideas don't die. And that's the end of part one. It's part one, right? Wait a second, what did I just read? No, that was good. I'm liking this. This is really, really interesting. Like, really, really interesting. Hello, how are you today? By the way, what is your favorite Halloween movie? The Changeling. Oh, but that's my favorite horror movie. Halloween specifically, kind of a tie. I love Halloween Town. It's a nostalgic movie, and I just, like, it's a really, really fun one. I feel like it's very in the Halloween spirit. It's very fun. I loved it when I was a kid. So Halloween Town is definitely up there. If I also a tie between Hocus Pocus, I think, because that's just a classic as well. Disney apparently owns me when it comes to Halloween movies. Those two just really stick out to me. I like those ones a lot. They had tried using melee weapons and tried using information overload, but apparently they hadn't tried using information as a melee weapon. That is incredible. I love that personally. That's a fun way to get this done. Okay. It looks like there is another part. This is a whole thing. I had no idea all of this existed. This is a whole thing. How many parts to this are there? I'm loving this, so I don't want to stop. I'm just like, man, how many parts are there? This is a rabbit hole. I mean, this is clearly the first part. This is a huge sequence of stories. Yeah! I just thought this was one little SCP entry. Oh my god! Okay, let me add this as well for you guys. We might not be getting to any of the SCPs I chose today, but read them still. They're all in the description. They're all great. All right. I am going to, whoops, that's not right. I'm going to add this in the description for you guys, so you'll be able to read along if you would like. Here we go. All right. There we go. It is added so you guys can read along to this. Have you played SCP Containment Breach? Honestly, you reading all this makes me want to play it again. I have. We haven't finished it, so I definitely want to start playing that again. I played it for a subspecial. It got voted as like a subspecial that people really wanted to see. So I played it twice, and I've had a lot of fun playing it. Angie, there are 14 more stories left in this series, not counting the side stories. I have time to read them. This is a fun one. I don't want to stop. I'm really, really loving this one. I don't know if I'll read the side stories, but we can get through, I'm pretty sure, the 14. They're not exactly, like, long. Maybe one of them will be, I don't know, famous last words, but I think we can get through them. They're very fun. I like these. If not, I guess we just have a dedicated episode and I'll retitle this or something. Okay. So next up, which is actually our first one. So first up, we have Unforgettable, That's What You Are. Which, with this story, famous last words, I suppose. All right. Here we go. Oh, it's finished. Lynn Marnus is more than 90 years old and hasn't stood at his full height in 10. He was a tower of a man in his prime, 2 meters tall and built like a boxer. Nearly nobody he ever met was able to look him straight in the eyes, at least not and tell him. No. Illness has gradually eaten away at that over the years. He feels as if he lives at the bottom of a deep bath. Everybody he ever meets looking down at him from slippery, unescapable walls, none of them able to reach down to help him. He spent his final months curled up in bed like a dying spider, changing to a corpse's color ahead of time. It might have been bearable if he'd lost his mind, but he remembers what he used to be, a leader, a powerhouse. He used to be able to alter the course of terrible events for the better, to get justice. He used to protect people. Elle, you can wake up now.
There's a warm wind through his thin, colorless hair, and there's direct sunlight coming down on him now, and the heat is filling him up like a tonic. He's outside. It's been too long since he was last outside. When he opens his eyes, he sees his lake, the one in the northwest, which he used to have all to himself every summer. He's on a boat, his boat, lying on a blanket laid out on the deck. A few kilometers away, behind them is a little lake house, empty. It's perfect. He didn't know he had the strength left to safely leave the hospital, let alone travel this far. But if he put his mind to it and selected a final moment, this might have been it. Do you remember me? Marnus looks, with eyes which are strengthening. The woman speaking is seated on the deck beside him, attentive. She has a large plastic box full of medical supplies open in front of her, and a light suit jacket laid on the deck beside it, and she has her sleeves rolled up so she can work. As he watches, she carefully disposes of a needle. A dim memory surfaces and starts taking shape. The woman is twice as old now as when he knew her last, and visibly twice as confident. It would be difficult to forget her. He taught her everything everything he could remember at the time. He remembers her as a field agent. He remembers sending her through hell a fistful of times. Marianne. Elle, the woman softly explains, you died. You died surrounded by grieving family. They loved you very much, and they cried over you. The funeral for the fake is in a few days, but unfortunately, you won't be able to see it yourself. You're dead now, and this is what comes next. Marianne Hutchinson. Marnus feels gold spreading through his bones. Miracle juice. It's Wheeler now, but she doesn't correct him. When you retired from the Foundation, Elle, we did what we do to all of us who retire. What all of us agree to when we sign up. We gave you some medicine which made you forget. And you stepped out of the door for the last time. All the work you did for us, great work, which saved lives, evaporated away. And your cover story sealed over those years became reality. That's why you've spent your whole retirement believing that you were a former section chief at the FBI. It's what you wanted. It's what we wanted. It's what you agreed to. But you alone agreed to something else as well. Nope, that's not. But you alone agreed to something else as well. And you must be starting to remember now what that something else was. I've injected you with the serum which throws the human aging process into hard reverse, and it affects everything. Organs, tissues, memories. You'll be coming up on it soon. Remember? Yes. Marnus croaks, remembering, dizzy. You signed over your final 12 hours to us. You asked for a full and happy and well-deserved retirement, but now for the last day, you work for us again. Because of one particular job. I have it in writing here. You see? Do you recognize your signature and mine? I witnessed. Yes. Do you remember who you are? Dr. Lynn Patrick Marnus, of the Foundation, he says. Anti-Memetics Division founder. Wheeler smiles with relief. It's good to see him again. We need some memories from you, she explains. Memories which nobody else in the world has access to, and which are buried so deeply that we can't extract them without killing you. So this afternoon, that's what we're going to do. We're going to extract those memories, and once we're done, you'll be dead. Marnus has already begun to regress to the time when he himself set the wheel in motion. He remembers very clearly, discovering the mystery in his own head, the blank spots, which he couldn't explain, and couldn't safely access with any kind of chemical or physical technique. He remembers deferring the mystery until now. What happened in 1976? Wheeler asks. Oh, that's not him. That's what happened in 1976. I keep mistaking them. Whoops. Marnus sits up. His skin is beginning to clear and his breathing is improving. He feels as if his brain is cleaved in two by a wormhole, such that his eyes are focusing on a different time period. In his right eye, he sees the lake and the boat he's dying on. In his left, he sees a colleague of electrifying familiar, past faces and places. Bart Hughes with his grin and thick glasses and baby face, looking like some kid dressed up in a Foundation researcher. The original Site-48 crew. Great techs, but a hopeless excuse for a softball team. Young Marian, with steel-strong nerves and a mind like a laser. Suits and lab coats and MTF operatives, and everywhere paperwork and floods of serial numbers. He starts to speak. 1976 was the year he founded the division. He brainstormed the whole thing in a legendary week, hammering out the science and then distilling the first chemical nemestic with the help of hand-picked trio of assistants. The first anti-memetics researchers. No anti-memetic SCPs had been observed up to this point. The entire operation was a shot in the dark, and yet the team immediately struck gold. Passive black holes of information, active predatory enforvers, unrememberable worms, which covered the human skin like dust mites, contagious bad news, self-sealing secrets, living murders, Chinatowns. Wheeler wonders if there might be something more serious awry with Marnus's head. His version of events is hopelessly romantic. In Wheeler's experience, nobody looks back on Foundation work fondly.
But it was all too fast, Marnus says. Special containment procedures take time to develop, much more time than I took. The Foundation as a whole acquires about a dozen more SCPs annually. I found that many in 1 year, essentially single-handedly. It was too easy. It was as if I knew it already and was just catching up. And then, one day I realized I couldn't remember my life before antimemetics. I knew I'd been a Foundation operative for decades prior. That was where I got the authority to start my own division. But there was nothing else there. It was a wall in my mind, which was domestics. Couldn't get me past. I went to the paper archives and looked at my own personal file and...
Marnus trails off. Not because he's forgotten what to say next. It's deliberate. The trailing off is exactly what happened. You woke back up at your desk, half a working day later, remembering nothing, Wheeler says. You went through a loop a dozen times before someone realized what was happening and broke you out of it. Wheeler knows all of this. The file still exists, and the antimemetic effect still clouds the back half of it. All of this would be over in a second if any of that black half could be read. Marnus goes on.
When I assembled, the evidence that I found was, well, a hole, like a jigsaw with only the edges and corners. So I did the only thing I could do. I looked at the shape of the hole and, together with Bart Hughes and others, I formed a theory. This is not the first antimemetics division. Before 1976, there was another one. I was part of that division, possibly. I led it. Certainly. I am the only known survivor of it. Something happened to that team. Some antimemetic force chewed up and swallowed the idea of the antimemetics division itself. I was left off lightly. I lived. The rest of those people, whoever they are, however many of them there were, are missing without a trace.
Wheeler nods. That much we knew already. I was there when you wrote the note, remember? The question is now. It's the answer that we can't get to without killing you. It's the answer that we've waited for years to get at. I'm here to ask you, what happened? Marnus covers his right eye and grimaces, trying. He fails.
It's not there. You haven't sent me back far enough. There's still that wall there in my head. I remember why the question exists, but I don't remember the answer. I need more.
Wheeler swabs his arm and gives him another 10 years. Marnus seems like another man once the second X dose takes effect. Wrinkles are sliding back up into his face. Muscle mass is returning to his limbs, but it takes Wheeler a second to realize the real reason why. She's just booted him back across the field desk agent transition, Marnus has regressed a little way past senior management. The realms where most problems were solved by saying the correct words, and into a time where he survived through physical fitness, situational alertness, and hands-on experience. Marnus gets to his feet for the first time in years. He scans his surrounding, examining the placid, golden lake, and the sky, and the boat itself. He doesn't sit down again. He smooths down his hospital gown, wishing he had a sweater, and separately some fishing gear. He brushes a hand through new old hair. His sideburns are back.
We weren't Foundation at first, he says. The first Anti-Memetics Division was a U.S. Army project. It ran parallel with Manhattan during World War II. We called ourselves the Unthinkables. It began as an experiment in advanced propaganda. The object was to cut through the physical conflict to find a way to rupture the ideology machine, to obliterate the idea of Nazism. After 2 years, enough theory had been developed that the task had been reduced to engineering problems. Another 2 years and the engineering problem had been reduced as well, and what we had built was a very special kind of bomb. Unfortunately, we didn't understand what we'd built. Back then, we didn't have nestics, or the shielding that we could use to protect ourselves. We didn't understand how far ahead you need to think when we're working with this kind of technology. We got looped. It was textbook. We built the unthinkable bomb and test detonated it, and it worked perfectly. The bomb destroyed itself and erased its own successful detonation and flattened all the knowledge which had gone together to build it. We forgot what we had ever built the bomb at all, and started over. To our credit, we realized pretty quickly what must have happened. There was a 4-year gap in our progress now, and there was no other way to explain it. But by the time we had put the pieces together a second time, the war was almost over. The Nazis had been defeated by conventional means, and the Japanese had been broken by the first atomic bombings. So we completed the second anti-memetic bomb, and after that, we sat on it.
Marianne Wheeler is silent for a long moment. The U.S. Army, she said doubtfully, was secretly developing anti-memetic weaponry as early as the 1940s?
We sure were, Marnus says, with more than a hint of pride. Of course, there is no one in the whole world who could back this up.
That's right.
That's right, Marnus says, flashing a smile. He hadn't flashed in decades. You only have my word for it. Cute, huh? Still, this is the way you resurrected me, isn't it? For the sake of one more good war story. God, I miss shop talk.
Did the audio bug out? Did it?
I hope it didn't. We're gonna have a problem if it did.
Never mind, it's good? Good to hear, good to hear. I resurrected you because I want a very specific question answered, Wheeler says. Although I can see that in a way you've already answered it. This bomb was the means, wasn't it? The old Anti-Memetics Division.
The Unthinkables.
Bombed themselves somehow.
That's right,
Marnus says. For context, Wheeler goes on, I assume that they knew what they were doing that time. I assume it was not an accident.
It was not, Marnus says.
The displaced half of Marnus's brain is anchored in the 70s now, so the true history of the new original Unthinkables is an open book to him, and he reads.
After the war, the second bomb collected dust for years. We began sketching improved designs for a third bomb, but around the time oversight was starting to flicker out, we completed our research and production objectives, and were given no further objectives. Funding becomes shaky and we couldn't figure out why. It wasn't entirely clear that the project overseers knew what we were doing, or even that they remembered we existed. It was a side effect from the research, of course. One we had no way of managing at the time. In 1951, a cult movement began in Ojai, California. It was wrong. Everything about it was just wrong. In a matter of days, it was a national phenomenon and still growing. It was all over the news. To spread that far in months would have been credible, but days were simply impossible. We and the team could see that the philosophy behind the cult was unnaturally contagious. It was opposite of unthinkable. It was unforgettable. We knew that this was what our bomb was designed for. We prompted the overseers for direction, but there were no orders. At the time that the outbreak began, we were in the U.S. Army laboratory, through and through. 8 days into the crisis, the Foundation acquired us. All the classified research and the material resources and all the compliant top staff, including me. Anybody who wouldn't comply was mind-wiped and sent back to the Army. 20 hours after the acquisition, we deployed the second bomb and the cult was gone. Nobody remembered it. Nobody remembered being part of it. 0 loss of life. A completely clean detonation. After that is when everything really kicked off. Once we started working at the Foundation, the pace of research ramped up. Every new technological advancement uncovered new hidden SCPs. I passed the Foundation field exams and went out catching ghosts. My life turned into the Twilight Zone.
Marnus blinks hard. He covers one of his eyes, then the other.
I remember all these different people now, he says. It feels like my memory is in stereo. Almost every anti-memetic SCP we caught before the wipe in 76, we caught again soon after the wipe. That means I remember 2 acquisition logs for each one. I remember 2 anti-memetic teams, and I don't remember who belongs on which side of the wall. Do you remember Goldie Yarrow? The neurologist studied the mechanism of anomalously accelerated memory loss. Wrote a library on the subject?
Wheeler doesn't.
Dr. Ojubiru? Julie Still?
This is important. Are you at the right place in your own timeline to remember what happened yet? Marnus focuses, and he discovered that he is. Something changes in his eyes, and he stops reminiscing. He's slowly, more slowly now, his voice dropping almost to a whisper. There is an SCP which your division has never seen. The SCP which my division couldn't contain. The escapee. This is what you wanted, isn't it, Marianne?
Oh no, wait, that's wrong person.
It's fine. Yes, she says. This is the data I'm killing you for. She leaves a gap where if she felt there was anything to apologize for, she would apologize. Marnus locks eyes with her.
It was still eating my division alive. It came at us so hard, so fast, that the only way we could stop it was to self-destruct. But we had no site nuke, and in retrospect, it is so obvious to me now that this was because the SCP had consumed our site nuke first of all.
If you know it exists, it knows you exist. The more you know about it, the more it knows about you. If you can see it, that's still him, isn't it?
If you can see it, it can see you. And you can't see it, and you can see it. You've been looking right at it all afternoon.
Wheeler is suddenly acutely aware of her surroundings. There are only 2 of them on the boat. The boat is anchored more than 1 kilometer from any of the lake shores. She hasn't brought any backup with her. There's a radioactive prickling in her brain. She doesn't. Red flag. Why didn't I bring any backup with me? That doesn't make sense. There should be a team at the lake house. There should be an MTF operative and a medic here on the boat with me, and a second boat, at minimum. Am I all alone out here? Why did I do that? She pulls her gun. She doesn't aim at Marnus yet. Where is it? Is it you? Marnus's voice is becoming urgent. He covers both of his eyes again.
Destroying all knowledge of it was the only way to destroy it, and restoring any memories was a foolproof way to bring it back.
It's in his eyes. Most likely his left eye. Wheeler backs up to the other side of the boat, draws a bead on the center of Marnus's head, and says, "Elle, are you still in there?"
There is a way to fix this.
Marnus hisses, dropping to his knees. He keeps his eyes screwed up and gropes his way forward blindly, on his hands and knees. Elle, you need to tell me what this thing is.
That's the opposite of what we need to do, Marnus says. We need to set another bomb off.
We don't have that bomb. We lost the technology, Wheeler begins.
You've always had it. There's an engineering lab on Site 41. You know it. An underground complex the size of a football field. It's pristine condition and totally disused. Why? Think about it. That's where your bomb's installed.
But that just sets us back to square one. If I set the bomb off, Wheeler says, knowing full well that she is thousands of kilometers away from it and can't hope to reach it in time anywhere. How do we contain this thing?
We won't, Marnus shouts. We can't, ever. Don't you get it? The whole division is looped. We start the division, we run headlong into this thing. Either it eats us, or we wipe ourselves out in self-preservation. The idea of anti-memes is an old as forgetfulness itself. Humans have been looping through this problem over and over again since long before the 40s, maybe for centuries.
His blindly probing fingers find the medical box. It's too late. As Wheeler watches, a waving black pedipalp coated in dark hairs forces its way out through Marnus's left eye. Marnus screams, still on his knees. He grasps at the pedipalp with both hands and tries to break it, but it's solid, as if it has bones inside it.
What is it? Wheeler shouts at him. That can't be the whole story. Where is it from? Why does it what does it want? Can it reason? Can it speak? Help.
A second spider leg, significantly longer and spindlier, slides out through Marnus's trachea, ruining his throat and voice box and producing a gout of blood. He gurgles. A third leg shoots from his abdomen like a spear. Wheeler shoots Marnus in the head. Marnus falls forward limp, then rises back up, lifted by the 3 spider appendages, as if he is a puppet being controlled by something gigantic and invisible. His arms rise as if suspended by wires. Wheeler squints. She fires 4 more shots at Marnus's head, at the likely body mass of the invisible puppeteer, and fires the rest of her clip almost directly into the sky. The whole boat vibrates along with the surface of the lake, as if responding to infrared sound or a localized earthquake. Then the boat shudders violently and starts to lift out of the water, raised up by unseen appendages. Wheeler holsters the gun and goes for the medical box herself, pulling it away from Marnus' floating feet. There's a compartment with Class B amnestic, the fast-acting stuff in serum form. She does a hurried burst of mental arithmetic, measures out the correct dosage in a syringe, and hand shaking plunges it into her wrist vein. The boat is still rising. Whatever the monster is, it's colossally tall, or maybe it flies. She is, of course, already dosed up to the eyeballs with nemestic drugs. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to perceive any of this. Foundation medical literature warns in the strongest possible forms against putting both kinds of drugs into the same brain. Best case scenario, this ends with her in the hospital. They're 30 meters up in the air now, 10 stories. There's a stabbing pain developing in her left eye. She kicks her shoes off and throws the gun away. She goes to the edge and contemplates the drop for disbelieving seconds. She jumps. It takes 2 heart-stopping seconds of freefall for her to hit the water. The chilled hammer blow of all impact is enough to blink her mind out. By the time she surfaces, she doesn't remember where she fell from or why. And likewise, the skyscraper-sized being which claimed Marnus in the boat has forgotten about her. What the hell? She gasps, treading water. What the hell? Where the hell? There is nothing above her. No explanation. Only the symptoms of the drug cocktail give her any indication of what just happened. A sensation like hundreds of tiny lumps of hot solder in her brain, and pain and exhaustion spreading to all of her tendons. She wants to die. Swim. Swim. Swim, says part of her. Get to shore. Get to shore first. Then you can die. The extraction team finds her around dusk, unconscious on the lake shore. They stabilize her in the helicopter, then take her to Site 41 for examination and to have her system flushed. She spends a solid 8 days at home, detoxifying. No nemetics, no amnesiacs, no exposure to dangerous memory-corrupting SCPs, no work visitors, no work, the doctor also tells her pointlessly. It isn't anywhere near the first missing event in Wheeler's life, nor is she the first person in the amnestic staff to have such an experience, but the sensation is no less disturbing for its familiarity.
Anti-memetic staff, my mistake.
As per procedure, she writes a report summarizing everything she can remember. The gap in her memory is about 13 hours. Then she adds her report to the extensive, complex map of missing time, where the whole division maintains collectively. It is a map of holes, and the map is becoming large enough that very faint patterns are gradually forming. The outline of the enemy is becoming visible, or perhaps a group of enemies. When she quizzes the extraction team later, none of them remember who activated the emergency beacon which summoned them. In fact, the beacon itself cut out long before they had landed at the lake. Wheeler compares the current size of her division with her best estimate of what it should be. Maybe she needs a few more key people here and there. So assuming the division was fully staffed before the event, maybe those empty roles are the people who died this time around. Maybe one of them activated the beacon. A commendable act by someone now only known to exist because of that stupid act. It's weeks later, still, that Wheeler discovers the largest new hole in her memory. Who founded the division? When?
What a haunting end. How do you fight a war when you literally can't know its ending? I mean... Angie, is your voice gonna be okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. We're perfectly fine right now, and I have water with me, so we're cool. I did this knowing I was gonna be reading a lot. Anyway, we have one footnote here. Excerpt from document 1A00471009L4799098, User's Guide to Chemical Domestics. The Class X domestic drug is a failed eternal youth serum. X rejuvenates both mind and body up to redacted years, but its effects are temporary, wearing off in a matter of hours. Furthermore, as the drug wears off, the suppressed time reasserts itself all at once, causing a harmful whiplash, effects on the subject's physiology. X can rejuvenate an individual safely by up to 30 days, but with stronger doses, the whiplash effects become dangerous. And past a threshold of 16 to 18 months, it is fatal in all known subjects. X's restorative effects on the human memory is essentially a side effect of all of this. However, this side effect is so useful that it has become the drug's main practical purpose. The Antimemetics Division uses small doses of X to temporarily sharpen or restore memories from the recent past. This aids Foundation operatives in the acute recall of incidents involving memory-corrupting entities. All right. Nice! Nice! Suddenly, I can't remember again what we were talking about. Does anyone else? Who are you guys? I remember I was mad at Bookworm for something a few days ago, but I can't remember now. It's as if that memory was taken from me. All right, drink water, everyone. Hydrate yourselves. I don't know who I am either. Huh. Fascinating. I think I'm... aquatic? Aquatic, right? That's what these little, like, things on my neck are, right? I think I'm aquatic. How am I breathing? I can't remember all of a sudden. It's all fuzzy to me. Does anyone remember me? Anyway, give me a sec while I start with this next one. Oh man, when stealing SCP files were not a good idea. Okay, I will take this and put it over here. Oh, you're breathing because of witch magic. Makes sense. Oh, witch magic? I guess that makes sense. I'm dressed as a witch. Maybe I am a witch? Sea witch? Does that make sense? Fish witch. Nah, can't be. That would make me a fish, and that can't be right. Right? Sounds about right. Is that right? Hey Angie, sorry I was late again. Also, I didn't know you were streaming. Yeah, I've been doing SCP stories today, and we're in the middle of a long one. A long one about forgetting. I forgot everything already. Okay, I have put the next one in the description for you guys, so you can read along with me. But take a break for a second, drink some water. Oh, man. These are fun ones. I never knew about all of these. These are a lot of fun. All right. If you're truly a witch, you must weigh same as a duck. Oh, you're right. Wait, I thought if I was heavier than the duck, then I was a witch. Is that the case? I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. Wait, what movie are we talking about? Okay, I'm gonna keep playing up this forgetfulness thing. Let's go. Okay, this is Case Colorless Green. Yeah, this whole Interesting Tales series is hidden behind unassuming little 055. I know! I like opened it up like, oh, look, what a short SCP file. And then suddenly I'm like 10 pages deep. It's fascinating. Yeah, I knew, I was joking. I knew it was Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I love that movie. A fun story for a work party. We were doing a Secret Santa. And I got Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I mean, I didn't get it. I bought Monty Python and the Holy Grail to give for the Secret Santa. And someone got it and they were like, oh, I don't know what this is. It's a little disappointing. And I was like, what do you mean it's disappointing? It's one of the best movies. I freaking love that movie. Oh, man. But anyways, I'm sure other people would have appreciated Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And there were other people. There were other people at the party that were like, oh man, I want that movie. But the person that got it was really disappointed with it. And I was like, what do you mean? It's a great movie. Okay. That being said, I am now officially going to start reading Case Colorless Green. Link in the description if you want to read along with me. Item number SCP-3125. Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-3125 is kept inside Cognito-Hazard Containment until 3125 on the first floor of Site 41. This containment unit is a 10 meter by 15 meter by 3 meter cubicle room clad in layers of lead, soundproofing, and telepathic shielding. Access is through an airlock system at one end of the containment unit. This airlock is programmed to allow only one person to enter the containment unit at a time, and to remain locked until this person exits, before allowing another person to enter. Under no circumstances may any coherent information be allowed to leave the containment unit. This includes written and electronic notes, photographs, audio and video recording, sound, electromagnetic and particle-based signals, and psi emanations. During the exit cycle, a purge system rigged to an airlock flushes the occupant's memories by flooding the airlock with amnestic gas for 3 minutes. A senior Antimemetics Division staff member must visit SCP-3125 every 6 weeks, 42 days. End of file. You're kidding me. That's the whole entry? That's the whole entry, Wheeler says. It isn't even the 15th strangest thing Paul Kim has seen in the database, but still. No description, no acquisition reports, no test log, no addenda, no clue who built the unit, or when, or how many times it's been visited, or who carried out the previous visits, or what they took in with them, or how long they were in there? Well, obviously, Bert Hughes built the unit, Wheeler says. And this cannot be denied. The man's signature style of containment architecture is recognizable a mile out. Sleek, white, plainly impregnable without the aid of extremely heavy locks. Which makes it at least 7 years old? That's 60 visits or more. I guess there are good reasons for the rest of these omissions. Anyway, the timer watchdog says it's time again. I don't like the idea of you routinely exposing yourself to a cognito hazard so dangerous that we can't even write the reason we can't write it down, Kim says. Especially because it's impossible for us to recover any usable information this way. You're gonna go incommunicado for 2 hours and come out smiling amnesiac? What do we gain from that? It's just a breach risk.
Willa hears every word of this and elects to ignore it all.
Hey, pause real fast, guys. Pause for 1 second. I just got jump scared to hell and back. Papa Lumine is standing here and just jump scared me. He's standing in the doorway. I'm gonna pause for just 1 second. You guys go into break mode. Hold on, I gotta get the be right back screen. If I can find it. Everyone, say hi to Papa Lumine for a second. I don't know why I can't find the waiting room. I didn't delete the waiting room, did I? Everyone's saying hi to you. Everyone's saying hi to you, Papa. All right, let me, there it is, hiding from me. All right, I will be right back, guys. Okay, we're back. Oh, Papa Lumine scared the hell out of me with that one. That was funny. He was standing in the doorway with like half of his body showing, so like literally just peeking through the doorway, just standing there. I thought I heard breathing, but like I wasn't sure. And I just looked over and Papa Lumine is just standing there in the doorway, just like half visible, staring at me. And I was just like, ah! Oh, that was great. Okay, all right. Well, I have some unfortunate news for you guys. Not anything to do with Papa Lumine. Papa Lumine is fine. The unfortunate news is that stream is buffering. So you guys get to deal with that. On the bright side, the stream itself should be fine. It's just going to be buffering for you guys, and I can continue reading. And hopefully by the time we get to our next stage, it won't be so bad. That's what I'm hoping, but I'm very sorry that it is buffering for you guys right now. All right, here we go. Where was I? Let's see. I think I have to go over here again. Yeah, there can't be anything good in that room. Wheeler puts her key card in the slot. The airlock rewards her with green LEDs and begins to cycle open. It was built as a slender vertical cylinder with a single opening. The entire thing rotates on an axis. Inside, there's barely room for a single person to stand without their shoulders touching the walls. What are you taking? Kim asks. Wheeler ducks to step in, turns to face him and shrugs. A stick of gum. I can get you field gear, Kim says as the airlock begins to rotate again, emitting a low, quiet thrum solely as an audible warning that there is a machinery in motion. We'll raid inventory. Give me 15 minutes and I'll turn you into a one-woman war. If Wheeler says anything in response to this, it's cut off by the soundproofing in the airlock as the airlock rotates.
Kim is left alone in the antechamber. He stares at the outer door for a worried moment. He presses his ear to the door for a while, but hears nothing. Not even a faint tremble from the airlock mechanism. Inside, it's pitch dark for a few seconds. There's some unseen sensor some unseen sensor detects Wheeler's presence and begins the fluorescence up. Half of them anyway. The other remains inert or flicker aggravatingly. The room's interior walls are made from milky white glass, bulletproof, knowing hues, and plastered with paperwork, taped with blue tacked up in vaguely coherent masses. Where there is no paperwork, people have drawn directly on the walls in marker pen. There is a conference table, long and elliptical, covered with more paperwork and a tangle of laptop computers and serpentine power supply cables. Power has returned to the machines, and they are slowly booting. A data projector warms up and shines a map of the world over the far wall, almost lining up with the network of scribbling and annotations on the same wall. Post-it notes of all colors litters the carpet like autumn leaves. Other than that, the room is empty. Skimming the paperwork, Wheeler discovers that nearly all of it is handwritten and most of it charts the progress of conversations. Most of the entries are dated and signed, and most of the dates are weeks apart. The conversations are panicked and fearful back and forth about dozens of SCPs, some of them anti-memetic in nature, but none of them obviously related to one another. None of the notes mention SCP-3125. The only name Wheeler recognizes is her own, which appears on 1 in 10 or 20 of the notes. The notes seem authentic and the handwriting is hers, but her notes also seem as desperate and uncertain in tone as in everybody else's. This unnerves her. There are diagrams on the walls too, which are too complex to decode at a glance, but complex enough to make her eyes hurt to look at them. Still lost for a logical entry point to the data, Wheeler curses all of her predecessors. Asynchronous research, whereby the research topic is forgotten entirely between iterations and rediscovered over and over, is a perfectly standard practice in the Antimemetics Division, and her people ought to be better trained for this. There should be an obvious single document to read first, which makes sense for the rest. A primer. Marion, it's me. Wheeler recognizes the voice as her own. She moves around the table until she finds the laptop making the noise. There's a video playing, apparently recorded on the laptop's own camera in the room. The Marion Wheeler in the video is seated and looks unfamiliar in a way which takes the one watching a moment to put her finger on. Not exhausted, nor not sick, not physically injured, she's seen herself that way before in the mirror. This woman's willpower is gone. She's beaten. You've guessed already that SCP-3125 is not in the room, she says. In fact, this is the only room in the world where SCP-3125 is not present. It's called inverted containment. SCP-3125 pervades all of reality except for volumes which have been specifically shielded from its influence. This is it. This is our only safe harbor. This room represents the length and breadth of the war. Every competent anti-memetics research project finds SCP-3125's fingerprints sooner or later. It manifests all over the world in thousands of different forms. Most of them aren't even anomalous. Some of them we already have cataloged separately in the main database. A very small number of them are even in containment. Impossibly virulent cults, broken arithmetic, invisible spiders as tall as skyscrapers, people born with extra organs which cannot be seen. That's the raw data. These manifestations are troublesome enough to deal with in their own right. The Wheeler in the video casts around, picks up a bright green felt tip pen and a blank piece of paper. She begins drawing a shape which isn't visible from the camera's perspective while still talking. But once you get a little further down the road, you start to see a pattern emerging in the data. You need to have the training in memetic science. But once you have the training and you have the data in front of you, it only takes a little extra effort to arrange these data points and conceptual conceptual space and draw a contour through them. These data points are points at SCP-3125's hull. Those manifestations are of the shadows it casts on our reality. You link 4 or 5 different SCPs together into a single shape, and you see it, and it sees you. She's still drawing. It's detailed. She doesn't look up, and her tone of voice is distant, almost as if she's narrowing the trail end of a frightening child's story. When this happens, when you make eye contact, it kills you. It kills you, and it kills anybody who thinks like you. Physical distance doesn't matter. It's about mental proximity. Anybody with the same ideas, anybody in the same headspace, it kills your collaborators, your whole research team. It kills your parents. It kills your children. You become absent humans, human-shaped shells surrounding holes of reality. And when it's done, your project is a hole in the ground and nobody knows what SCP-3125 is anymore. It is a black hole in anti-memetic science, consuming unwary researchers and yielding no information, only detectable through indirect observation. A true description of what SCP-3125 is, or even an allusion to what it is, constitutes a containment breach and a lethal indirect cognitohazard. Do you see? It's a defense mechanism. This information-swallowing behavior is just the outer layer. The poison coating. It protects the entity from discovery while it infests our reality. And as the years pass, the manifestations will continue growing denser and knitting together until the whole world is drowning in them and everybody will be screaming, "Why did nobody realize that this was happening?" And nobody will answer because everybody who realized was killed but this system. Do you see it, Marianne? Do you see it now? Wheeler is at the core of Foundation anti-memetic science. She had all the raw data readily accessible. There are extensive written calculations on the walls, but she doesn't need to read them. She can do them in her head, and all it took was the slightest push, that slightest suggestion. Staring through the laptop screen, eyes wide and defocused, she understands how it all links together. She sees SCP-3125. She feels dwarfed by it. She's encountered terrible, powerful ideas before, at every level of mimicticity, and subdued them or even recruited them. But what she's picturing now is on another level, another order of magnitude from what she knew to be possible. Now that she knows it's there, she can feel it like a cosmic radiation boring holes in the world with its thousands of manifestations and freely lying waste to anybody who recognizes the larger pattern. It's not of reality, not of humanity. It is from a higher, worse place, and it is descending. The other Wheeler presents her finished diagram. She has drawn a mutated, fractally complex, grasping hand with 5-fold symmetry. It has no wrist or arm, just 5 long human fingers pointing in 5 directions. At its core, there's a pentagonal opening, which could be a mouth. But the diagram was already there. It's plastered across the wall in the background of the video. Plain as day, meticulous collage in green, easily 2 meters in diameter, and showing the same meme, complex to 100 times the level of detail. There are smaller diagrams of different elevations, arrayed around it like spores, and its arms are spread wide around the seated Wheeler, who sits directly in front of the mouth, with her back to it. Wheeler, watching, does not realize this and does not turn around. How do you fight an enemy without ever discovering it exists? The Wheeler in the video asks. How do you win without even realizing you're at war? What do we do? 7 years ago, there were more than 400 anti-memetics research groups worldwide. Government agencies, military branches, private corporations, university projects. Many of them were GOIs or subdivision of GOIs. We were allied with most of them. We were at the spearhead of an anti-memetics coalition which spanned the whole globe and thousands upon thousands of people. None of these groups still exist. The last one ceased to exist sometime in the last 72 hours. 3 years ago, Foundation Anti-Memetics was an organization of more than 4,000 people. Now, it's 90. There's no war. We've lost the war. It's over. This is a mopping up operation. The only reason we still exist at all is because we have better amnestic biochemistry than anybody else in the world. Because that's all you can do when you see SCP-3125. Run away and try to forget what you saw. Seek oblivion in chemicals or alcohol or head trauma, and even that can't work every time. It's circling in. We meet it over and over again and don't realize it. There's no way we can stop ourselves from rediscovering it. We're too damn smart. She points at something on the wall. Out of view of the laptop's camera, Wheeler, watching, turns to look. In an upper corner of the room, there is a constellation of dizzying, complicated schematics. Bart Hughes' initials are over every page. There's a machine we could build. All it would take is 8 years, a lab as big as West Virginia, and all of the money in the world. Nothing that the O5 Council would blink at if we went to them. But how do we build that machine without any of us realizing what it's for? It would be like building launching Apollo 11 without a single engineer detecting that the moon existed. The logistics would be insane, but the secrecy would be well past impossible. Someone would start asking questions, and then it would all be over. So what do we do? Find another way, Wheeler says to the unnerving recording. The fatalistic tone of voice makes her angry. What the hell's wrong with you? I could tell everybody to walk away. I could send a little message to myself saying, there's danger down the road. You should disband the Antimemetics Division and pursue other projects. But I'd be suspicious. I'd start questioning, and then it would be over. Wheeler's now crouched in front of the video, trying to understand what she's watching. What's wrong, Marian? Are you okay? I could kill myself here, the recording says. But the team would find SCP-3125 without me. And then they'd have to fight SCP-3125 without me. It's going to happen soon. Whatever happens. In the next 2 months at most. This year, it will be over. I may die in here anyway. I'm on so many domestic drugs that my endocrine system is shutting down. Taking amnestics at the same time as the chemical equivalent to trepanation. I don't remember the last time I slept without having a nightmare about Adam, and I'm starting to forget what SCP-4987 is a real thing or just a number that I gave in my life. You're not like this, Wheeler whispers. You're stronger than this. What happened to you? Who's Adam? I don't know how we will survive this. I don't know how we'll win. We're the last ones in the world. After us, there's nobody. Wheeler shakes her head, not believing it. So I'm done. I'm going to walk out of this door and forget who I am, and then I'm going to be you, Marian. And you, Troll, have to figure a way out of this. Because I can't. She gets up and moves off screen. She can be heard breathing deeply. Her speech is starting to distort. God, my eyes hurt. I think I'll start inside. There's the sound of a door opening and a piercing pulse of sound and light, which terminates the recording. Wheeler stares at the dark screen for a long minute. She's never seen herself so weak, and it damages her ego a great deal to see that it's possible. She feels disconnected from what she saw, like it happened in an alternate universe. She feels revulsed and appalled by the version of her, more so to know that that version is still inside her somewhere. It doesn't make sense. I'm looking at all of the same facts. What made her give up? What did she know that I don't? Who was Adam? The answer to the question is so obvious and sickening that she instinctively distrusts it. She circles around the answer, probing it, trying to find reason to reject it, but it's inescapable. Adam was someone she knew when the video was recorded, now completely removed from her memory. Adam was someone, the thought of whose safety paralyzed her with fear. Someone in the same headspace, someone she couldn't lose. She couldn't bear to lose. And then she lost. But what if... How'd the room get built in the first place? Anybody's guess. Wheeler's images, Hughes building it as a proof of concept, followed by a cascading series of lucky chances which led to it, becoming the war room, Someone discovered SCP-3125 at random while sealed in the room. They wrote notes to themselves, which set up a skeletal external SCP database entry and the containment procedures. Most of the paperwork and computer hardware was left behind by later visitors. It could have happened. But what if there's another room? Unbidden, a cute factoid comes back to her right then. Site 41 is almost completely vacant. In particular, 200 meters below Site 41, there's an empty heavy engineering lab, an underground complex the size of a hockey stadium. Self-contained in pristine condition, totally disused, sealed up, original purpose forgotten. Nobody has entered it in living memory, but who knows how many decades back by a dead generation of anti-memetistics. What if that's where we built our weapon? Do I really believe I'm that smart? That my team and I had that much foresight? That we got that lucky? She turns to look at the airlock, running the numbers in her head. Anti-Memestic Division staff, other than me, 38. Excuse me. Let me take water for a second. Okay. "42 days until the next iteration. That's past the end of the war. It'll be too late. If I leave this room now, I will never be back. The plan I have now is the best plan there's ever going to be. We're the last ones in the world. After us, there's nobody." Kim is so deeply buried in work at his terminal, and the airlock is so quiet that he almost didn't notice when it starts to cycle open again. "We need to check you for notes," he begins, but then he sees Marion Wheeler is curled up in the bottom of the narrow cylinder, panting as though she just finished a marathon run. Kim holds a hand out, but she shakes her head, electing to stay lying down, knees bent up to her chest, sucking down lungfuls of air. "What in the world happened in there?" Kim asks. "Just need," she gasps, "to breathe. Be okay in a second. I think I blacked out for a moment. Might have inhaled some. I think I'm okay. I remember the plan." Kim looks confused and worried for a second. Then they replace him. "You shouldn't be able to remember anything. What did you do?" "Hit my head," Wheeler says, then goes back to concentrating on breathing properly. She suddenly becomes acutely aware that Kim has her effectively cornered, disliking the configuration for reasons which she's only gradually putting back together. Excuse me. Was that a hiccup? Gonna drink the last of my water. Maybe the reading's starting to wear on me. It's fine. I'm cool. Okay. Disliking the configuration for reasons which she's only gradually putting back together, she levers herself up to the shoulder and tries to stand. Kim puts a hand on her shoulder and pushes her back down. "You look terrible," he says. "There's something in your neck. Do you see that?" He points at her throat, then taps the same spot on his own. "You're AI, you can read an infinite amount of text." "I'm not AI, I'm a fish, I think." Hey, wait, my hotkeys aren't working. What? Oh no. Am I stuck like this? Am I never gonna be able to not smile again? Oh no, wait, I think it changed. I think it changed. Okay, we're fine, we're fine. Am I gonna be crazy forever? Oh God! Still the same. Oh no! I'm just stuck like this. Oh no! I can't go back. I've seen too much. It won't change. Oh no! Well, buds, we're just like this now, I guess. I'm
crazy Angie now. I remember too much and now I can't go back. All right, we're gonna read the rest of the story like this with this expression. Oh my god.
What?
On your neck, Niflay, you've been infected by something, or by whatever was in there. We need to act quickly.
He reaches for the key ring and unthreads a swift army knife and unfolds a short gleaming blade. He does that in such a methodical, ordinary way that Wheeler almost forgets to react when he leans down towards her throat to cut it. Almost. She grips his wrist. They're locked like that for a moment, a tableau. She looks into Paul Kim's eye, but it isn't his eye anymore. She squints, wondering if she's making eye contact with anything but a hole in space. She already feels the force bearing down on her own skull, trying to drill into it, but she knows its shape, and that means she can hold it. She can hold out, maybe for a few minutes. She had hoped, prayed that Kim would not succumb so quickly, and in a crazed little way, she thought there would be at least a sign, a theatrical doubling over in his mind that his mind was wrenched out of its socket. Kim's wrist spasms as he tries to lunge with the knife. Wheeler parries, and its tip glances off the airlock interior wall with a screech. They shuffle for an awkward second, then she boots Kim in the stomach with both feet, sending him sprawling into the antechamber. She launches out of the airlock, dives over him, and sprints away from the containment unit. She feels SCP-3125 following her as she runs, like a spotlight. She hears a crash in another part of the site as the first piece of ceiling caves in.
Oh, wow. So, we're all dead. Nice. This is my last day on Earth face, apparently. Okay, well, stealing these files from SCP Foundation is certainly unlocking a lot of realizations, I'm noticing. Okay, let me go ahead and put this in for you guys so you can read along with the next part of this. Here we go, and this one can technically be the last if you want to get to more today. I would like to finish this story. However, we might do like a part 2. So like, this can be the last one, and then we'll continue the rest of these. The one we're about to read. Yeah, that sounds good. We'll read this next one as the ending to part 1 for this, for the SCP-55 series. And then we can do a part 2 for these, because I love this. This is great. Thank you for recommending me this, Faith. This is fantastic. Terrifying stuff. Not being able to remember the enemy hunting you down. That is fantastic. All right, so we'll definitely do a part 2 to this to finish up these stories. Anyway, the next one should be ready for you guys if you want to follow along with me. I put it in the description. This is Your Last First Day. Previously, Marianne Wheeler is currently in the corner of Site 41's main freight elevator, descending, clutching a shiny red ray gun, almost as long as she is tall. The gun has a 2-tinged prong instead of a barrel, and its stock is a weirdly asymmetrical mass of pipework, more like a Swiss watch or a small industrial track than a weapon. The gun is SCP-7381, and it comes from a long-dead planet, not too distant a planet, when all's said and done, which conventionally astronomy has yet to observe. A tornado of violence and destruction is tearing through Site 41 and through the minds of everybody working at Site 41. Ceilings are being brought down, the site pharmacy is a sucking hole at the site of the building, the armory is buried. That's why she had to go through Area 09 and is now toting anomalous weaponry instead. The anti-memetics division operatives she meets in the corridors are all broken, some of them curled up and raving while their minds evaporate, and they die one memory at a time.
some infected with a collection of ideas, which compel them to shout guttural phrases and strange languages, and to preclude blades, never guns, and work on those demented victims, and each one, and each other, and themselves. Wheeler doesn't recognize any of the people. Their faces are all wrong, torn up with hatred and misery and vindictive glee. She's been trying to avoid fighting, but she's had to kill one man in self-defense, fired at his heart. SCP-7381 simply erased a half-meter-wide cylinder of matter, removing the upper torso and lower jaw. He fell to the ground in 4 pieces. SCP-7381's beam is invisible, silent, and recoilless. It was like using a child's toy gun. Wheeler's petrified, but more than that, angry. "This is too much," she says out loud, willing her heart rate back under control. "I can't deal with this. I shouldn't have to deal with this. It's my fucking first day!" But how much sense does that make? Wheeler studies her reflection in the dark glass of the elevator control panel, and she tours the interior of her own skull, examining her thought prowesses. There are hints there, which would be difficult to articulate to someone who didn't know her as well. As she knows herself, she isn't thinking like a newbie. She's instinctively breaking the problem apart, the way an experienced Foundation operative should. Hell, a newbie wouldn't even know how to carry out a detailed psychological self-examination of this kind. A newbie wouldn't even think of it. A newbie would just suffocate. The first thing it did when it saw me," she explains to her reflection, "was eat everything I know about the division and everything I knew about it. If I had a plan, it ate the plan. But I'm still me, so I can come up with the plan again. It's already right in front of me. I just need to see it. If it were me, what would my plan have been?" She scratches absently at her left wrist. "Taking some hardcore domestic drugs would have been a smart first step, I guess," she mutters, "reinforcing my mind so that it can erase the rest of the steps. Damn!" The nearest source of domestic medicine is in the site pharmacy, but it's already been destroyed, and in any case, the elevator is headed down away from it. "No, stop, the pharmacy's been destroyed? How do I know that?" Because she was there. She remembers finding the pharmacist crushed to death behind a fallen metal cabinet, her skull an unrecognizable splatter of scarlet. She remembers the floor being torn away beneath her feet, and only barely making it out of the portion of the building alive. She remembers a modular package colored softly orange with an enormous black Z on it. Her heart nearly stops at this. "Oh God, what did I do?" She remembers the dozens of warning signs covering the package. She remembers 3-factor authorization procedure she had to follow to get the sealed container where it was stored. She remembers the centimeter-thick book of medical advisory information, which she discarded, and rolling her left sleeve back, she finds a fresh needle mark with a speck of blood and remembers administering the injection. "This was my plan? This is what it takes to fight SCP-3125? I've killed myself!" Class C domestics are the last word in biological memory fortification. Class C domestics permanently destroy the subject's ability to forget. The result is perfect etiquette memory and perfect immunity to arbitrary strong anti-memetic interference. The dose is taking effect now. Wheeler didn't read the book because she already knew every word of it. She knows everything that's about to happen to her. She can already feel her mind hardening like steel and the developing symptoms of extreme sensory overload. She can see everything. There are extra buttons on the elevator control panel, the lowest of which the 13th floor below ground level. She's somehow already pushed. The walls of the elevator are covered with graffiti scrawled by the desperate and dying, people whose conceptual presence was eradicated from reality years earlier by the Alistair Gray anti-memetic kill agent, reducing them to the level of ghosts. In one corner of the freight elevator, there is even a half-corpse, unidentifiable, so many layers removed from reality that even flies can smell it. Its cells winking out of existence asymptomatically over the course of years. There is a fistful of tiny white worms exploring the floor of the elevator car, near where she's sitting. Revolted, Wheeler shuffles back from them, shaking one or two more of them out of her hair. The worms are almost the most widespread and successful anti-mimetically cloaked organisms in the world. They are everywhere, in every biome, in every room. She can hear a long, alarming drone noise, a continual roaring, which has the texture of ambient noise and is continually getting louder. It's as if it's been there her entire life, and it's only now that she begins to hear it. It's too much data, too much sound, too much light. Having her eyes open is like jamming them full of needles. She clamps her hands over her eyes and screws her eyes up. Even like this, she feels the vibration of the elevator's slow descent and the heat of the failed air conditioning and the movement of her clothes on her skin. And meanwhile, her vision is flooded instead with what could be hallucinations. The human sensorium routinely generates huge amounts of data, and the human brain is adapted to discard almost all of the data nearly immediately. Altering the brain's behavior to retain the data is extremely dangerous, even for very short time spans. Wheeler takes one hand away from her ear for just long enough to punch the metal wall of the elevator car. Bloodying two knuckles, the pain gives her a focal point, a memory which screams a little louder than the rest. And she finds the plan. She doesn't remember it. She bootstraps it from first principles in a handful of minutes, just like she's done hundreds of times. "I know how to beat you," she says. "No," SCP-3125 says to her. "You don't." Interesting, it's talking to us. The elevator stops on the 13th floor, below ground, and its doors grind open. They wait, open, for a long time. Further up the elevator shaft, there are the distant rumbles of the more parts of the Site-41 being reduced to crumbs. Still crouched in the corner, Wheeler mutters, "SCP-3125 doesn't have a voice." "Of course I do," it responds. SCP-3125 is a 5-dimensional anomalous meta-sized mass of bad memes and bad anti-memes and everything in between, seeping to our physical reality. It isn't coherent and it isn't intelligent. It can't communicate. This is auditory hallucination. SCP-3125 scoffs. You know what I hate most about you, Marianne. You're consistently, eternally wrong, and yet you're still alive. All those lost battles, every year of that entire lost war, but somehow you always cobble together enough dumb luck to walk away unscathed. The entire sole survivor. You don't deserve that kind of luck. Nobody does. While it's talking, Wheeler leans hard on the ray gun to get herself free, to get to her feet. She lodges one shoulder against the wall of the elevator car, still with her eyes closed. She braces herself and opens her eyes. The corridor ahead is empty. There's an airlock at the far end, this one large enough to drive a truck through, built from ultra-toughened white metal alloy in Bart Hughes' established style. There's a panel beside the airlock. She closes her eyes again and hobbles forward, using the ray gun as a crutch, stretching one hand out ahead of her as guidance. "Someone has to be the last," she says, glitching her teeth. "Someone has to be the best." "Your team is dead," SCP-3125 says. "Their minds have been pulled out like eyeballs. They're hollow. They're hollow people, with holes in space where their brains were. This war is over. Finally, it's just you, Marian. A division of one, dying from domestic overdose, 200 meters underground, cared for by no one, known to exist to no one, up against an immortal, unkillable idea." Wheeler reaches the airlock and fumbles blindly with the panel until she finds the slot for her keycard. For a few seconds, it seems as if nothing is happening. Then a yellow light flashes, the enormous mechanical interlocks unlatch, and the door cycles open with all the fuss of a flower's petal unfurling. Noise. Hughes. Always held. It's a symptom of imperfect engineering. Behind her, she hears the freight elevator close up and return to ground level, and she knows that someone has summoned it, intending to pursue her. "Ideas can be killed," she says, stepping into airlock. "How?" "With better ideas." As the airlock cycles closed, so does the hermetic seal. SCP-3125 is shut out.
Oh yeah, stream is lagging again. Sorry guys. I can't do anything about it. I figured out what it is, and the internet providers in my area are completely redoing the power lines. And so, because they're being replaced, my connections are not great. So I'm sorry guys, I can't do anything about it. Hopefully, hopefully this stops soon. And I'm hoping they'll be done soon, but we'll have to see. You like mac and cheese? Nice! Mac and cheese sticks, yes, those are great. Those are really good. Okay. I'm going to continue reading. If something can cross over from conceptual space into reality, taking physical form, then something can cross in opposite direction. It must be possible to take a physical entity, mechanically extract the idea which it embodies, amplify that idea and broadcast it up into conceptual space. A bigger idea, a better idea, one designed specifically to fight SCP-3125. An ideal, a movement, a hero. The machine Wheeler needs to build is the size of an Olympic stadium, and she doesn't have a fraction of the heavy mimetic engineering experience to do it, let alone the material, resources, or the time. But she knows. Someone taught her. She doesn't remember who. That an anti-memestics division operative is as good as the first day as they've ever likely to be. And the same must be true of the division as a whole. She tells herself, we won the war on the day it began, when we encountered SCP-3125 for the first time. We built this bunker. Bart Hughes faked his death and sequestered himself here so he could work uninterrupted, while the rest of the division held on for as long as humanly possible, buying time for this moment. I know this is what I did, because it's what I would have done. I'm the final component. He's waiting for me. The space beyond the airlock is gigantic, structured and lit like an aircraft hangar and filled with hot, stale, dry air. Wheeler is still mostly blind, stumbling forward across the expansive military truck, which it disregards. Not Kim lets its keycard fall from its fingers and scoops up the ray gun. For a moment, it contemplates the unconscious Wheeler, then examines the gun itself, remembering how it works. It turns back to face the airlock and fires, punching fat cylinder holes in the white metal of the inner door until it's gone. Then the outer door too, breaching the hermetic seal. A faint smile returns to Not Kim's face as SCP-3125 and its familiar, comforting signals flood into the bunker. A dozen more non-people are arriving by freight elevator. Former Anti-Memetics Division bodies. I found her, Not Kim calls out to them. It drops the ray gun where it's standing, as if it simply forgot that it had been carrying anything, and pulls out its knife again. It holds the knife between two fingers in a casual, offhand sort of way, as if it were a pencil or a screwdriver. The infected non-people gather with Not Kim around Wheeler, looking down at her with an alien expression of disgust or pity or malice. Why isn't she opening up properly? Someone asks. She can't meet them unless she wants the signals. Start with her eyes, says someone else. I'll make the rest of her easier to correct. Not Kim leans down to start work, then hesitates. Its knife a few centimeters from Wheeler's eyes. She's whispering something so quietly that only it can hear her clearly. None of that happened, Paul. None of that happened, Paul, she says. You and I never existed. There is no Anti-Memetics Division. There's a sharp click as the bomb finishes its powering up sequence. Nobody in the room can hear this but Wheeler. Nobody in the room can perceive the bomb but Wheeler. And all they can see is an empty truck. The world goes black. Okay. And that is where we are finishing for now on that SCP chain, on SCP-055. What a fantastic story. We'll do a part 2 to this fairly soon. I would really like to do a part 2. Fish Clown, welcome in. Welcome in. Sorry everyone that I had to deal with all of the stream buffer for a while. I don't know if you guys could hear me say it, but unfortunately I found out what the problem was and I can't really do anything about it. I just kind of have to wait it out. The problem is that they are replacing all of my internet lines. This is my whole community. We're getting it all replaced. So I didn't know they were doing it, but yeah, apparently that started last week. So the reason the connection has been so spotty, the reason YouTube keeps glitching is actually because of that. Yeah, can't control that, can't do anything about it. All the power lines are being replaced in this whole area. So unfortunately, that's just how it is. However, it seems that you guys are back and alive and with me again, which is nice. I like that. I like you guys being here. Yeah, so whenever it goes down like that, it's just really, well, darn, there's nothing I can do. I wish I could. But yeah, it's just what can you do kind of situation. Anyways, we're gonna, that was way longer than I thought it would be. I loved that, and we'll be definitely coming back to this. We're definitely gonna come back to this, but I'm gonna end this for now so we can get to some other SCPs. I'm only gonna read 2 more. Because I actually have an appointment happening that I need to eventually get to. So I'm only gonna read 2 more SCPs. The first one is very, very short. It is SCP-_____J. This was sent to me by @randomguy, requested, and it is a very short one. Link in the description for anyone that wants to follow along. This SCP, dramatic reading, reads as followed. Hold on, I have some coffee I want to drink. Oh, wait, yeah, I forgot to do a few things. 1 sec, I'll get to reading it, don't worry. I'll get to it. Oh, right, there's a couple other things I wanted to do as well. Oh, right, what was I doing? Reading this SCP? Well, okay, it's item number, SCP-_, I'll put it later, J. Object class, I'll think of it later. It doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't matter. Special containment procedures, do I really even? In the box in my office, something, yeah. Description, it's a rock that, makes you procrastinate, or whatever. Oh, God, hold on. You know, I've been really playing these games lately, and I'm kind of late on one of them. Oh, yeah, and, probably mimetic or something. I'll finish writing this up later. Anyways. Reading done. Thank you. I take cash on Ko-fi. Okay, all right. That aside. Let's see. I'm going to close down a few tabs here for our next reading. That was SCP-_____J. That was my dramatic reading of the SCP. I hope you guys enjoyed. Next up, we will be reading, if I can get through all of my clips of 055. Okay. There are a couple of ones I would like to read. All right. I'm going to be reading, and this is already in the description for anyone that would like to follow along with this story. This is SCP-4666 to gear up for the holiday season. So, link in the description if you'd like to follow along. Item number SCP-4666, Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures.
Web traffic and law enforcement channels worldwide are to be monitored for evidence of SCP-4666 activity, and particularly for cases of stalking or reports of anomalous phenomena involving families with young children. Should a Weissnacht event be Wow, I lost myself for a second. Should a Weissnacht event be suspected to be in progress, the nearest containment task force is to be dispatched to attempt containment of SCP-4666. Standard PDP VIII humanoid first contact protocols apply. Media coverage of family deaths attributed to SCP-4666 is to be suppressed or falsified to make said deaths appear as non-anomalous home invasion murders. Forensic evidence in SCP-4666-A instances collected by non-Foundation agencies are to be confiscated and witnessed anti-nemeticized. Description: SCP-4666 is currently believed to be a single, exponentially long-lived humanoid entity of unknown origin. Survivors of Weissnacht events typically describe SCP-4666 as a very tall, between 2 meters and 2.3 meters, elderly man of European descent, with an extremely emaciated appearance. The entity always appears completely naked, even when observed outdoors in freezing weather, though the nature and extent of its anomalous properties remain uncertain. SCP-4666 appears capable of instantaneous or near instantaneous travel to any location north of 40 degrees north latitude, and possibly to any location on Earth. SCP-4666 activity occurs exclusively within a period of 12 consecutive nights every year, from the night of December 21st to 22nd, to the night of January 1st to the 2nd. This period is known as SCP-4666's active phase. During the phase is what are termed Weissnacht events. SCP-4666 will appear at dwellings in one or more locations north of 40 degrees north latitude. In all known Weissnacht events, these dwellings have shared the following characteristics: isolated rural location, home to a family with at least one child under the age of 8, and situated in an area with snow cover lasting throughout the duration of the event. Weissnacht events consist of the following general progression. Nights 1 through 7. Children will report seeing SCP-4666 in the vicinity of their family's dwelling. The entity will typically be observed watching the dwelling from a distance, such as form across a nearby field or form the edge of a neighboring forest. In some cases, children will report waking up at night to find SCP-4666 watching them sleep through a window. Nights 8 through 11. Family members, including the parents, will report sounds of footsteps coming from the roof or the attic. An extremely unpleasant odor will also frequently be noticed inside the dwelling. No case of these phenomena will be found. As a result, parents will often begin to suspect that their family is being stalked, or even that the dwelling might be haunted. Night 12. Over the course of the night, one of two scenarios will occur. The first, and most common, is that SCP-4666 will kill all members of the family, save for one child under the age of 8, whom it will abduct. SCP-4666 will inflict incapacitating injuries to family members while they are sleeping, then herd them into a single room of the dwelling, where it will proceed to kill them in view of each other. The method of killing varies with the event, and will typically be preceded by some form of torture, which appears to serve a ritualistic purpose. See Weissnacht events log below. In the second scenario, which has occurred in roughly 15% of Weissnacht events, SCP-4666 will not harm the family. Family members will report hearing footsteps inside their dwelling during the night, though no signs of forced entry will be found. In the morning, children will discover presents at the foot of their beds. These will consist of toys crudely crafted from the remains of human children. See SCP-4666-A instance log below. The criteria, if any, by which SCP-4666 determines the outcome of the Weissnacht event are unknown. Notable Weissnacht events. Location, unknown village, Croatia. Year, circa 1498. Description of Weissnacht event, unconfirmed. An entire family was killed with the exception of one of the children, age unknown, who was abducted. Though specific details about the event are not available in recovered documents, it was noted that the killings persisted strong paganistic elements and that the family members had been made to suffer greatly prior to death. The archbishop, who oversaw the investigation, wrote that he believed the family had been killed as part of a demonic ritual. Unknown village, Rupert's Land, present-day Ontario, Canada, 1689. Unconfirmed, an entire family was killed, with the exception of two of the children, one of whom was abducted, and one of whom, female, age unknown, escaped during the killings and was able to reach a nearby village. She told authorities that a naked man had broken into her family's dwellings during the night and proceeded to torture them. Exact method not specified in recovered documents. Upon investigation, the bodies of the family members were found inside their dwellings, hanging upside down from the ceiling. All had been exonerated. Eichstätt, Germany, 1913. An entire family was killed, with the exception of the youngest child, male, age 3, who was abducted. The bodies of the parents and 5 other children were found inside a stable adjoining their dwelling. They had been restrained by having knives, pitchforks, and other sharp implements forced through their palms of their hands and into the walls of the stable, before having their tongues removed, leading to hemorrhaging and death. Blood from the family members had then been used to paint elaborate patterns of unknown meaning on the hides of the mule, goat, and 2 cows present in the stable. The animals themselves were not harmed. Neighbors told authorities that in weeks preceding the killings, the father of the family had mentioned finding tracks in the snow around the family's dwelling, which appeared to have been made by bare human feet. Bio-Soviet Union, 1956. An entire family was killed with the exception of the youngest child, male age 4, who was abducted. The bodies of the parents had been, and one other child had been found in the living room of the house. They had been restrained, and their feet held over the flames of the fireplace for an extended period of time, calcining the tissues of the feet and exposing the bones. They then had their heads crushed with an unknown heavy implement. Hundreds of bite marks, believed to have been inflicted post-mortem, were found on each of the bodies. Branching cut from a fir tree outside the house had been placed over the bodies to unknown purposes. Skudeninshav, Norway, 1971. An entire family was killed with the exception of the second youngest child, female, age 5, who was abducted. The bodies of the parents and 2 other children were found in the basement of the house. Each had at least one limb pulled off by brute force before being stabbed precisely 39 times with an unknown sharp implement, possibly a piece of bone from one of the removed limbs, resulting in massive blood loss and death. The family members who had been eviscerated and their small and large intestines removed and cut into 30 to 50 centimeters long pieces. These had been arranged in radiating lines around the bodies. Feces from the intestines had been used to trace symbols of unknown meaning on the walls of the basement. Eglastatur, Iceland, 1996. An entire family was killed with the exception of the youngest child, female, age 4, who was abducted. These bodies of the parents and 7 other children had been found inside the house. All the large pieces of skin removed from their backs, necks, groins, and prior to the death. Removed skin was found to have been partially consumed. They had been killed by decapitation with a bucksaw that had belonged to the family. Following death, the family members' headless bodies had been carried to their respective rooms and placed on their beds. Each of the removed heads had also been placed upright on the step of the staircase leading from the first to the second floor, with the parents' heads on the top 2 steps and the children's head on the lower steps in decreasing order of age. This is notable SCP-4666-A instances recovered. Nurmes, Finland, 1811. A small wooden drum with two wooden drumsticks of uneven length. Drum skin consists of 390 centimeter piece of skin belonging to a human child stretched with thread made from human tendons. Gallagher, Wales, 1857. A small knife 15 centimeters in length. Blade is 6 centimeters in length, sculpted from a singular piece of bone belonging to a human child. Symbols of unknown meaning have been carved into the handle. Makat, Kakistan, 1903. A flute made from the hollowed-out femur of a human child. Holes have been bored at uneven intervals along its length. The femur appears to have been dyed with human blood. Bangor, Michigan, 1960. A wooden box containing 13 miniature human-like figurines, each 4 to 6 centimeters in height, made from the finagle bones of human children, tied together with strips of human tendon. The figurines have been decorated with human hair and small pieces of torn clothing. DNA testing revealed that the remains belong to 18 separate children. Cape Boral, Canada, 1976. A ball 23 centimeters in diameter, made from 19 layers of human skin, wrapped tightly around a decapitated head of an unidentified human child, male aged 2 to 3. Layers of skin are held in place with pine resin. Bard, Netherlands, 2006. A hairbrush. The handle is made of wood and poorly crafted. In place of bristles, 43 decadus human teeth have been set in irregular intervals into the handle. DNA testing revealed that each tooth belonged to a different child. Only 2 of the teeth could be matched to known abduction victims of SCP-4666. Teeth vary in age from a few days to over 400 years. Discovery. SCP-4666's existence and ongoing activity were first detected in 1974 through the Foundation's newly implemented Anomalous Singularity Recognition Program, when several highly similar home invasion incidents resulted in family deaths were found to have occurred throughout the Northern Hemisphere between the night of January 1st and 2nd. Extensive research into civilian and law enforcement archives worldwide eventually uncovered evidence of probable Weissnacht events for nearly over preceding years, going back to the late 18th century, average of 3.1 known events per year. Numerous historical documents were also found which appear to describe SCP-4666 actively occurring prior to this period, in some cases as early as the 2nd century AD in Europe and Russia, and as early as the 1st century BC Scandinavia. Fingerprints belonging to the same humanoid entity have been discovered at all locations of all Foundation investigated Weissnacht events. These have been matched to a partial fingerprint found preserved in dried blood on a recovered SCP-4666-A to instance dating from 1873. The fingerprints present characteristics not known to occur in human beings. See image. Human-like white hairs were also recovered from the locations of several Weissnacht events, though no DNA, human or otherwise, could be extracted from them. Addendum 46601. On February 1st, 2018, several SCP-4666-A instances were discovered at a family's residence in Hoona, Alaska, following the conclusion of Weissnacht event number 060198. Among these instances was SCP-4666-A0960, which resulted of a crude life-size doll made from the emaciated body of a female child, to which the following modifications have been made. A dress made from various pieces of dirty, discolored clothing that had been sewn around the body and in several places into the body's skin. The mouth had been sewn shut, with thread made from human tendons, and the lips painted red with a solution consisting of primarily of human blood. The fingernails of another child had been glued over the body's fingernails with pine resin, which had been painted red with the same human blood-based solution. 3 of the body's fingers were missing. The entire scalp had been removed from the head, and the scalp of another child with long blonde hair sewn into the head was in place. The hair had been tied into 2 braids. Both eyes had been removed, and 2 large round pebbles on which eyes had been crudely painted, placed in the empty orbits. Upon examination by the family, the child from whom the doll had been made was found to still be alive, albeit unconscious. Authorities were notified, and the child was airlifted to Bartlett Regional Hospital in Juneau, Alaska, where she survived for 18 hours. 2 Foundation agents were dispatched and were able to interview the subject. See interview log below. Following the subject's death, the body was confiscated by the agents, and all witnesses amnestiated as per standard procedure. DNA testing revealed the subject had been Ekaterina Morozova, age 7, a known abduction victim of SCP-4666, taken from her family's residence in Dubokva, Russia, on February 1st, 2016. Autopsy of the subject's body showed she had been severely malnourished during the 2 years following her abduction, which had resulted in considerable stunting. Weight was only 15 kilograms, height was only 90 centimeters. A number of scars and burns were presented on her skin, and she had suffered 2 bone fractures, left tibia and left ulna, that had not been reset and had healed improperly. Hands were heavily calloused. Cause of death was attributed to multiple organ failure, resulting from severe sustained malnourishment. Interview log. Audio log 4666-06201, February 1st, 2018. Time, 2327, AKST, 2349, AKST. Location, Bartlett Regional Hospital, Juneau, Alaska. Interviewers, Agent Antony Kowaleski. Agent Susan Muse attending. Subject, Ekaterina Morozova, SCP-466-A0960, female, age 7. The subject regained consciousness for a period of roughly 30 minutes prior to expiring, during which she was interviewed. Hospital staff had previously been removed the thread that had been sewn to her lips, allowing her to speak. Despite having been administered a morphine drug, the subject was largely coherent throughout the interview. The subject did not understand English and initially spoke only a language that was unfamiliar to agents Kowalski and Mules. However, after several minutes, the subject began addressing the agents in Russian, which she spoke poorly. Agent Kowalsk had spoke rudimentary Russian, was able to conduct the interview without the need of an interpreter. Begin log. Hello, I'm Antony. What's your name? Are you going to take me back to him? No, I promise. I'm just here to talk to you. I don't want to go back. You don't have to. You're safe now, Mashka. Can you tell me what happened to you? Do you remember the night he came to your house? I remember. He hurt Mama and Papa, and Katya and Juliana for a long time, and they were bleeding. After they stopped screaming, he put me in his bag. His bag? He had a big bag. Other children were in the bag too. I think we go to their houses. I hear people screaming outside the bag all during the night. Each house he put another child in the bag. And after the night, he takes us away. Where did he take you? Underground. Unknown world. Deep. Underground? You mean in a basement? Deep. Everything. Earth and mud and ice. Bones everywhere. Everything cold. I can't sleep because it's too cold. Were there lots of other children there with you? Lots of children. Lots of tunnels. Lots of holes. But I can't see all. I can't see the other. An unknown word. Too dark. My hall is with Renee and Hekla and Sasha and Paul. We make the toys together. The toys? If you don't make the toys, you don't eat. Don't stop making the toys. Don't fall asleep, or he'll hurt you. He hurts you? How? He hit you, or burn you, or he bite off your fingers, or he cook you on the fire in his room and eat you. He ate Felipe and Sally. What about you? How did this happen to you? Did he do this? Renee and Hekla and Sasha and Paul do this. We have to.
Why?
I get sick. When you can't make the toys, you become the toys.
In log. Footnotes. Analysis of recovered police photographs has shown that the size, shape, and configuration of SCP-4666's teeth do not match those of a human being or of any known animal. Also known as ASRP, this program marked the Foundation's first use of algorithms as a means of detecting anomalous phenomena. Recordings of this interview are currently being studied by the Department of Linguistics, as the language spoken by the subject was later found to match no known language, living or dead. Early indications are that it might be related to Proto-Germanic. And that is SCP-4666. That's a fun one. It's a gory one, but it's a fun one. I love the, I don't love the idea. It terrifies me, the idea, of a stalking entity. I remember reading this one way back in the day. Oh, look at that. My hotkeys are working again. But way back in the day, I remember reading this one and getting freaked out by it. It is quite the read. However, I will end off on one of my absolute favorite SCPs, if not my absolute favorite SCP. I would always read this one to feel better, so I am going to end off on this one. We'll read some of the other SCPs another time. So, I will leave you off with this one. It's not a scary one this time. This SCP is SCP-1762. And it is one of my absolute favorite ones to read. So, I will leave you off with this one. Item number SCP-1762. Object class, safe, neutralized. Special Containment Procedures, SCP-1762-1, is held in a standard containment unit at Site Redacted during the periods when SCP-1762-1 releases SCP-1762-2. Video logs are to be recorded for future research. Although instances of SCP-1762-2 have been deemed harmless, they should not be allowed to exit their containment unit. Description: SCP-1762-1 is a plain cardboard box that is 32 centimeters by 20 centimeters by 26 centimeters. It is spray-painted silver on the interior and exterior, and the words "Here be dragons" are handwritten in black permanent marker on the lid of the container. Opening the lid of SCP-1762-1 when it is not in the process of a release reveals it to be empty. SCP-1762-1 will infrequently open and initiate a release of SCP-1762-2. During this time, the box will briefly emit a large amount of black smoke and quickly dissipates. It takes an average of 20 seconds for SCP-1762-2 to emerge after the smoke clears. SCP-1762-2 is the collective term applied to the beings that emerge from SCP-1762-1. All instances of SCP-1762-2 bear resemblance to various types of dragons in both Eastern and Western depictions, albeit in forms similar to that of origami models. Analysis of SCP-1762-2 reveals that they are composed of kami paper. After exiting SCP-1762-1, instances of SCP-1762-2 will fly together in large groups and interact playfully with any nearby personnel and each other. SCP-1762-2 vary in length from 9 to 30 centimeters. All are capable of sustained flight once they exit SCP-1762-1 and have been recorded attaining speed of 15 kilometers an hour. The number of SCP-1762-2 varies with each opening of SCP-1762-1, with numbers ranging from 50 to over 400. After approximately 2 to 3 hours of time spent outside SCP-1762-1, all instances of SCP-1762-2 return and fly back into SCP-1762-1.
Despite this time, SCP-1762-1 will once again begin emitting smoke, and instances of SCP-1762-2 will vanish after passing the rim of SCP-1762-1. SCP-1762-1 closes once all of SCP-1762-2 have returned to it. The next date of release is inconsistent. A message written or carved into a varying material will sometimes materialize on top of SCP-1762-1's lid. Once the box retrieves all instances of SCP-1762-2, attempts to send a message or recording device back with SCP-1762-2 have provided negative results. These documents and their appropriate dates of appearance are being compiled and recorded. Addendum 1762-1 on redacted. SCP-1762-1 began to undergo a series of events that lasted 11 months and 28 days. This event, as well as prior incidents that led up to the beginning of this scenario, have now been classified under the title the Jabberwocky Incident. Document 1762-1, date obtained, 2004. This is the first recorded incident of SCP-1762-1 opening while contained at Site Redacted. You have found us. Thank you. It's been so long since we last saw each other, friends. The peace has been upheld. The giants and behemoths have kept their word and have not caused any trouble since you last came and gave the order. We missed your company. How has your family been? Do you still know how to work your room? You are welcome to visit any time. Document 1762-4, date obtained, 2004. It's strange to see how much your world has changed. Is it even stranger to see how we now appear in this place? In fantasy, we are much bigger. Or maybe you've grown taller. Fantasy is still the same. We hope you can visit us like you used to, though our room is as grand as ever, it appears. Yours has shrunken. We do not understand. The rooms were supposed to be maintained, as was our agreement. Please restore the belief. Document 1762-6, date obtained, 2005. Only 20 instances of SCP-1762-2 appeared during this event. Said instances did not lift off and instead walked slowly on foot for the whole period they were out of SCP-1762-1. Friends, we apologize for our few number. We have had to remain in fantasy for quite some time. The others are growing impatient. We are trying to keep the peace, but please, for all of our happiness, repair the room quickly. We know you are trying. Your family is most imaginative of us all. Document 1762-14, date obtained, redacted. Along with 10 instances of SCP-1762-2 appearing, 3 balls of yellow crumpled construction paper were expelled from SCP-1762-1. These pieces were observed to shake violently for 5 seconds, then ceased all further movement. They were picked up by SCP-1762-2 and returned to SCP-1762-1. The giants were foolish. Your room is not ready to accept them yet. We're sorry. Friends, we hope that we can still see you, but time is growing short for our happiness. Document 1762-15 obtained, redacted. 5 instances of SCP-1762-2 emerged. Carrying said document, they immediately returned to SCP-1762-1 after disposing of it on the floor. Tensions are flaring. Fantasy is becoming darker. We, the serpents and the hybrids, are furiously trying to hold them back, but the giants and the elves wish to strike and make an entrance. They said that your family has grown stupid and ignorant. We hope this untrue. It would sadden us greatly to know that you have forgotten. Document 1762-16, date obtained, redacted. A single red instance of SCP-1762-2 emerged from SCP-1762-1. Its wings were torn, and it was notably crumpled. It collapsed onto the floor 1 minute later. It did not move again. Upon its expiration, the body of SCP-1762-2 rapidly unfolded and revealed a message written on the white side of the paper. War. Goodbye, friends.
2 hours later, SCP-1762-1 opened and emitted flames that reached 2 meters in height and temperatures of 1,700 degrees Celsius. Sounds of distant roaring were heard from within SCP-1762-1. At 2000 hours, a large amount of torn paper pieces, and paper balls were ejected from the SCP-1762-1. Several damaged SCP-1762-2 were expelled and were deemed deceased upon examination. SCP-1762-1 continued to sporadically open and close for the next 6 weeks. During this time, it continued to emit fire as the amount of paper discharged from it steadily decreased. Matter resembling muscle and tissue were continuously expelled from SCP-1762-1 at increasing frequency. SCP-1762-1 remained closed and inactive for the next 7 months. Document 1762-17 obtained, redacted. This document was discovered lying inside the interior of SCP-1762-1. It was written on parchment, and many of the words had been buried or stained with blood.
Are you still out there, friends? We miss you dearly. Fantasy is no longer safe. Our haven, your beautiful creation, is gone. The giants are dead. The centaurs are dead. The birds have fled. We are going to bury your room. We cannot risk hurting you. This is our goodbye. Maybe one day, your family can build another room. This may be a hollow hope, but we will cherish this thought.
1 hour later, SCP-17621 began to shake and emit smoke for 15 minutes, after which it began to sag and collapse. Several portions of the box began to char and tear, creating small burn holes throughout. The words, "Here be dragons," on the lid of the box were burned away. Document 1762-18, date obtained, redacted. This is the final message obtained from SCP-1762-1. It was written in ink, on a papyrus scroll, and also depicted a scene of a painted, mountainous landscape filled with large trees and waterfalls. A single-winged dragon can be seen in the background. It appears to be flying away. The message is written in black ink in the bottom right-hand corner.
Esther said that we won't see you again. We are sad. So are the remaining others. We once filled each other's heads with dreams and goals. It is sad we cannot share them any longer. Esther says we have to go. He says that he will make us a new fantasy. He says you cannot be part of it. We are sad. We love you. We will not forget you. We are scared. Will you forgive us? Will you forget us?
Upon removal of document 1762-18, salt water began to leak from SCP-1762-1, and the burn marks that covered the container began to disappear. 3 minutes later, SCP-1762-1 had been restored to its original state. The words "Here be dragons" were replaced with the words "Here we're dragons." Here were dragons. Were dragons, I can't read. Here were dragons. The Jabberwocky event is declared concluded with this occurrence. Addendum 3. Since the end of the Jabberwocky event, SCP-17621 has shown no further anomalous properties and has been declared neutralized. SCP-1762-1 has in three deceased instances of SCP-1762-2 now reside in researcher Yoshihiro Takanaka's room for commemorative purposes. After nearly 8 years of inactivity, researcher Takanaka reported SCP-17621 began emitting purple smoke and spontaneously opening at 2300 hours, falling to the floor. It dislodged a single chunk of crystal, later identified as amethyst, and a large leather-bound book. The contents of this book appear to detail various species that once lived within the world of SCP-1762-2. Though from what the author has written, all organisms mentioned are likely extinct. The book is now classified as 1762 BOL-1. The amethyst crystal had the following words carved into it: "One last time." After falling, SCP-1762-1 continuously emitted smoke for the next 40 minutes before ceasing all activity.
Upon trying to pick up SCP-1762-1, Takanaka reported that the box proceeded to disintegrate upon touching it. Its remains are now kept in containment capsule in the office.
And that is the end of one of my favorite SCPs. It is a very sad ending. There is a little more to this. There is a little more to this SCP. I will let you guys look at that yourselves because I have run out of time. Did you read it? No, I didn't, Larry. I didn't read about you. This isn't about you. But yeah, that is a it's a very sad SCP. It makes me tear up, but there's something so imaginative about that one that it's just, I love the creativity that's in this SCP. It's my favorite now too. Yeah, it is one of my absolute favorite ones. So yes, this will conclude the SCP reading for today. I would love to do more of these. I think it's a lot of fun to read these SCP stories. So I will keep this stuff open to do at another time. Unfortunately, I would read more, but I have an appointment I have to get to. I have volunteer work I agreed to do, so I'm not getting out of that, so. So I am going to have to go now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate each and every one of you being here and staying with me to read these. This was a lot of fun. I'm really glad I got to read Here Be Dragons. That is my absolute favorite. That is my absolute favorite one, and I really wanted to read that one, so I'm glad we had time to read it. Oh man. That being said, I hope you guys have a great day or night or whatever time it is. I hope you guys have a great one. You know, please support all the original authors and the authors that made these stories. I put links into the description for every single one of the ones we've read here. I might remove some of the links because we didn't actually end up reading them, so those links might be removed. We'll get to them. We'll get to them another day. That being said, thank you guys so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. You don't have to, but I'd very much appreciate if you did, but I'll appreciate you guys either way. Have a good one, fish cakes. Love you lots, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye, fish cakes. This will be, I'm just realizing I need to say this real fast. I'm leaving for an entire week after this. I won't be able to see you guys. So this was my farewell for a week. I'll be back in a week. I'll be back by the 21st. But yeah, that is my final thing to say, and I will miss you guys dearly. I'll talk to you guys on the Discord. If you guys feel like reaching out to me there, I will still be very much active there, and I will see you then. Bye-bye, fish cakes. Love you lots, and see you then. Bye-bye.